Welcome to Paperweights, the podcast where two self-proclaimed gym rats and shooting enthusiasts delve into the world of literature with a sprinkle of humor. Although their biceps could crush a walnut, don't let that intimidate you. They also have a nerdy side. Mike and Brandon have a voracious appetite for reading, particularly in the fantasy genre, and they want to share their passion with you. So grab your protein shake and your favorite novel and join us for a humorous and insightful journey into the world of books with Paperweights.
Welcome back to another episode of the Paperweights. I am your host, Brandon, and Justin's with us again.
Hey, I'm back.
Yeah. You were at Gen Con.
Yes, that monstrosity of a convention. It was a lot of fun.
Did you get to play any new games or?
Mostly I got to play some, but mostly walked around and bought a lot of stuff. But I got to test out this like very early in development miniature game where it's called Leviathan. It's like Aether Space Leviathan, where it's basically miniatures, but you're playing with capital ships. So it's like, like frigates and corvettes and stuff, and you're like trying to kill each other. It was pretty fun. Like the rules weren't super complicated. I think it's on Kickstarter if anyone wants to check it out. But it was cool.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It was a fun convention. It was huge.
Yeah, y'all all like everybody told me it's like, yeah, it's a fun convention, but I'm not sure if it's a every year thing.
Yeah, it's a special thing. So you don't want to, sully that with every year.
Yeah.
And I need to build up my endurance because you walk a shit ton. I think Dustin's watch said we did around 50 miles.
50 miles in how many days?
5 days.
Oh,
yeah.
That's like a Disney World trip.
Yeah, my feet were aching, but I got over it.
Yeah, in Disney World, you average probably, or for me anyway, it's like anywhere between 10 and 15 miles a day of walking. But yeah, I mean it's a lot of walking. I get tired. So
yeah.
Yeah, so before we get into some other things, obviously, this podcast is sponsored by Mudcat Whiskers. They sell beard care products. You've got your beard wash, beard conditioner, beard oil, balm, butter, and soy candles with the same scents as the beard products. So you can go check them out at www.mudcatwhiskers.com and use the code paperweights at checkout to save yourself some money, because who doesn't like saving money? All right, so one of the things I did this week, at the end of one of my workouts, I decided to take the 100-pound med ball and do a shoulder carry with it. Yeah, it's a lot bigger. Like you gotta hug this thing like this and kind of lean sideways. Yeah, so that was kind of a Bridge 4 inspired workout there. And yeah, carrying 100-pound med ball resting on your shoulder. I think I got between like 105 and 130 yards per carry. Which is good stats for like a running back. But for for somebody just exercising 105 to 130 yards, it's not that far of a distance. Once you're carrying 100 pounds, it sucked. I'm glad I only decided to go around my block, which was about a little over 400 yards. So you got four lengths of a football field.
So could you sprint under arrow fire with that as well?
Right now, no.
Okay.
I would die. I'd just be dead.
We'd all be dead.
Kudos to Kaladin.
Kudos. So
But
you,
he's
so
he
you didn't find a sprint in your neighborhood?
no, I did not find a sprint in my neighborhood. But I
Oh,
mean, Kaladin is kind of yeah, he's got Stormlight, even though he didn't realize it. He has that buff. So
he is storm blessed.
yeah. And then the other thing, I talked about this with Mo a little bit on last week's episode. The Cosmere RPG was released on Kickstarter this week, and you said you saw it at Gen Con.
I saw where it was being played, but like all the slots were like instantly filled, so I didn't get to play it. I also saw the Mistborn deck building game being played, but I did not get to play it. But that's gonna be out later this year, I think. It's probably gonna be a lot of fun because deck builders are fun.
Is it like it's kind of like Magic the Gathering?
No, it's like Dominion, all those.
Okay,
Yeah, like all those where you have like a base deck and you build it during the game.
okay, that's cool. And you
Yeah,
get to do you get to discard some
yeah,
base
I
cards
guess
later?
probably. I didn't really get to see the mechanics, but usually those games have a burn mechanic where you replace your cards with new cards.
Is Nick's causing havoc on your desk?
Yeah, she's just being weird.
All right. So that sounds great. And we got a lot to talk about this episode. We got parts 4 and 5, right?
Yeah, we finished the book.
All right, so part 4, Storm's Illumination. Uh the epigraphs in here, we go back to the death rattles.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, we find out who like where they're coming, most of them are coming from
Mm.
at the end of the book,
Yeah.
but it'll be interesting to find out like what's causing the death rattles. 'Cause-
Ooh, I'm guessing it's the Almighty. I don't know. If he can give Dalinar visions, and maybe he's given the dead people visions. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It might not be him, but there's I mean there are multiple um godlike creatures in the Cosmere.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it's maybe it's Odium announcing his presence, like, "Hey, I'm back."
possibly, possibly. I mean, those are kind of the two big outside of the Night Watcher. So like we know the Stormfather or the Almighty. We know Odium and we know the Night Watcher are all kind of three mythical. Um,
Well, isn't the Stormfather and the Almighty different?
uh, I don't I don't know.
So
I think they were in.
I don't know. I got that they were like kind of different things because doesn't I don't think the Stormfather's dead and the Almighty's like, I'm dead.
Yeah, but also if the Almighty's dead and the Almighty is saying he's dead, then is he dead?
Well, I thought it was like how like I guess we can get there when we get there, but it seemed like it was like a recording of his thoughts.
Oh, yeah, the visions.
Visions, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Doo-doo. Noises. Yeah, so we don't have to really discuss anything. Death rattles are cool. It's like a glimpse into the afterlife, basically.
Yeah.
So, but so we'll just start with chapters. Pick up at chapter 52, A Highway to the Sun. So the last thing that we left off on the main plot was Kaladin's last one, where Kaladin was betrayed by Amaram, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention last time is toward one of those final I think it was in Storm Blessings, the chapter with Kaladin that book ended the first chapter of the book. Um you actually like get the chronologically first sighting of Syl. because he was walking through the camp and he saw a windspren float by and stick something to the side of a barrel in the war camp. And I was like, hey, that is probably Syl. It had to be Syl, because she does mention that she sees him like a couple times. She's like, you act differently than you did before. And he's like, when did you see me before? But so
Yeah.
apparently she's been stalking him for a while.
Yeah. It makes sense. She likes to buy things because she's not a windspren.
She's a
Dun, dun, dun.
Bindspren.
Yeah.
No, she calls herself a Bindspren.
Mm.
Yeah, so chapter 52, we get point of views of Adolin and Dalinar. And so Dalinar is he's still at this point is wanting to abdicate to Adolin. And he kind of tells Adolin, Renarin in the room, and I think Navani's in there too, that he plans to return to Kholinar to help the queen with the state affairs of the state. And so this actually takes place 1 week after he told Adolin that he was going to abdicate. So he's in there, and a high storm's coming, so they strap him in for the vision. And the vision that he has is actually a vision of the recreants. And Navani is there writing down things that he's saying. So it's pretty cool. The history, like the way Sanderson kind of weaves in history here without necessarily having a flashback, like letting one of the characters experience it. Because like Dalinar gets to experience these characters from history, and in this case he's experiencing Leaf, and he's guarding a keep on the top of the wall. And so they see like a whole bunch of Knights Radiants come out, and they're waving a white flag, and they come and just kneel, and they shove their shard blades into the ground, and they kind of walk away. And it's like, what is going on there?
We have no idea.
Yeah, he notices that the glow from the shard blades has disappeared. Once again, he hears that voice, read the book and unite them. So like this voice, obviously, like later on, we kind of realize that Dalinar puts together that the voice isn't really like aware of him. It's just like that recording, like talking to him, and like he misinterprets a lot of the things because he thinks he's having a conversation.
Yeah, one of the important things that you got lost over is Dalinar's gonna abdicate. Adolin doesn't really want him to. He's like, I spoke in anger, but Dalinar's like, if I'm going insane and I believe these visions wholeheartedly, I need to abdicate. And then Renarin is like, hey, if what you're saying is true, why don't we try to prove them? And he's like, well, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? And then that's when they get Navani to like write down everything.
Oh yeah,
It's a little, but yeah, I have a theory about the glowing armor and glowing shard plate.
okay.
I don't remember if this is true because I hardly remember anything of the other books. But I think like when they get armor and weapons and like their spren can like enter it and like power it up. That's my idea. So like all the dull shard blades and stuff are because like they left them in the spren left as well. I don't know if that's true or not, but
We shall see if your theory is true, Justin.
it's what makes sense. So
If it makes sense to you, then it's a great theory, right?
yeah.
So, yeah. So let's see what else. When they come back from the yeah, when they come they decide to try to prove that the visions are rooted in truth after he comes back out of the vision, right? Because he's like, he gets the name of a place, I think. Um, he also comes back and says he doesn't believe that they're from the Almighty. Like when he returned, he didn't think the visions were from the Almighty, and also reveals to his sons that he has visited the Night Watcher. So there's like another instance, like, okay, who's the Night Watcher? Later on, we do find that I think it's in this section, or did we already find out that the Night Watcher grants a curse and a boon?
I think we found out from the interludes, but we get it told to us again.
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Baxel, they're like, he's like, I need to go find the Night Watcher and get my boon.
Yeah. So we know his curse. I don't think we know his boon, and I don't remember what it is.
Yeah,
Uh,
his curse is that
eh,
he can't remember his wife.
yeah, but we don't know his boon yet.
Yeah, we do not know his boon. Um, so also Dalinar does allow Adolin to kind of prepare to lock down the war camp if Sadeas does implicate him for attempted murder of the king. Um, then so when Navani is dictating at the end of the chapter, after Navani finished dictating the message or the vision rather, um, is dictate the right word when she's writing down or
No, it'd be record, I guess.
okay,
Dictate
so
is when you tell
Dalinar is dictating.
Paladin.
Okay, yeah, Dalinar is dictating to Navani, and then she sends Adolin away, which leaves her and Dalinar alone in the room. And yeah, they nearly she's like coming on hard to him, and he's like, no, you gotta leave. As much as it pained him to make her leave, because he's like, man, she's so hot, and I loved her first before Gavilar, but it's so wrong. He's like, according to the codes, this is wrong.
Yeah, he's trying with all his might to fight his feelings, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the more interesting things in this chapter was that in the vision, the officer that approached Dalinar in the vision was not a bright eye, but or a light eye, but was a dark eye, and he made particular note of that. So maybe light and dark eyes weren't always a a class division throughout the history of Roshar or Aleph.
Yeah, I got that it was a Vorin thing.
Uh,
Light and
the
dark.
light and dark eyes was a Vorin
Yeah.
thing.
That's what I got, because because Rock doesn't do, their people don't do it and stuff like that. So that's what I got, because doesn't the when you're like a radiant, your eyes turn blue and stuff. So uh, it'd be I guess that it came from like that sort of religious fervor with the radiance.
Okay, yeah, but still here with the history, I'm assuming the history here is still an Alakar or kind of like a Vorin thing, and it hadn't been established yet.
Mm.
Maybe it got established after the Knights Radiance abandoned, and so like anybody, they had the Knights Radiance, which had the light eyes, and they're like, okay, well, if you had light eyes, then maybe you were potentially of the Knights Radiant kind of lineage, and maybe that's how that came about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
So,
Mm.
you want to move on?
Yeah, we can move
Chapter
on.
53, Dunny, and so we're going in order of the chapters. This check section, and probably for the rest of the series. So flip back and forth between POVs as they appear in the book. So chapter
Yeah, they become much more interconnected now, so makes
yeah.
it'd be kind of weird. Be like, this 3 pages into chapter 5 is Kaladin, and then we go back to yeah, it'd be pretty hard to do.
Yeah, so chapter 53, Dunny, is a point of view of Kaladin, and there it's a short chapter. Not too much happens. Basically, serves as a reminder for Kaladin of his brother dying and other young um, soldiers and stuff dying. He's unable to save because they're on a shattered plains plateau assault, and he sees Dunny take one a spear from like Sadius's army, and like I think he goes to try to save him, and Moash is like, he's already lost. You can't. If you go out there, you're gonna die. And then he gets taken by a Parshindi spear, and then dies. And then he decides that he's going to start rescuing the wounded from the other bridge crews, because he's like, well, we keep losing our bridgemen, and they're not replenishing us. So if I can save the other bridge crew, they're not going to want them back, and then we'll be able to replenish our ranks. So, and Kaladin actually notices in this chapter that the wounds on his face are gone. And he was like, well, what's going on here?
Maybe I have magic.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Tef still is not like, hey, Kaladin, you have magic. It's
Yeah.
a little bit later.
Come on, Taft, tell him. And maybe it's better that he didn't tell him, but I mean, I could see him because he's like, no, I'm not magical. So
yeah, I mean, Tef does have to kind of like spell it out for him. Hey, you're always at the front, and you always have these spheres that like go done, and you always live. Maybe you're magic. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm cursed. That's later, but yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it just serves as another reminder for Kaladin about how he's unable to save people, and people keep dying around him.
Yep, rip Dunny.
Bye bye, Dunny. You did he shine brightly at all?
Was he the guy that could sing?
No.
That's the other guy.
Yeah, I don't think he could sing. I don't know. I don't remember.
There was that one guy that could sing down the chasm. I couldn't remember. Oh, doesn't
Was it Maps?
Well, Maps dies too.
Maps dies too. I think he's the one that could sing.
Maybe.
Yeah, I want to say it was Maps that could sing. But yeah, I totally failed at making some type of pun on Dunny, because he went done. Womp womp womp. Chapter 54, Gibletish.
That's a word.
That is a word. It's definitely a word. It comes from Hoid or Wit. And so Dalinar is sitting at the king's feast, and at first he notes that, okay, the Wit is absent, and he's like, then he wonders if he offended Navani. Like, so Dalinar's just going through all these thoughts in his head as he's sitting there, and he's like, did I offend Navani because I told her to leave the last time we were together? And then Wit shows up at the feast, and it's funny, the way he said it, and I didn't quote it, but he tells Dalinar, basically he mentions that he knows ad nauseum, and talks about putting a person back together in a different order. It's like, how would that work? Oh man, I want to. I don't. Oh, hey, look at that! opened up to chapter 53.
Nice. What are you looking for?
Basically what he said, the exact words that Wit said. Oh, okay, so here I found it. Great. Wit, Dalinar said with a sigh, I haven't the mind for this tonight. I'm sorry if I'm missing your intent, but I have no idea what you mean. I know, Wit said, then looked directly at him. Ad nauseum. Like, Wit always talks in like puns or, witty talk. And so at first it's like, I, when Dalinar said, I have no idea what you mean. And at first you go, I know you don't know what I mean, but it's a comma and then says ad nauseum. So it's like, I feel like he's saying I know ad nauseum, which is like the god that was shattered into like 16 pieces. And so like
Okay.
so like odium, honor, uh ruin and preservation from Mistborn, all of those are shards of ad nauseum. So they're parts of the god, of the like the whole god. And so when he's talking about here is like, I wonder what would happen if you took a person apart piece by piece and then put them back together in a different order, what you would have. And so he's like, I think it kind of gives a little bit of information of like what Hoyd wants to do as a world traveler, which I don't think like in the books there's nothing like concrete that I can remember. But I think this kind of starts that, like what he's up to. And I know you don't, you're just like, all right, whatever. Like it
I mean,
doesn't matter
maybe.
much here, but
Maybe.
um,
I don't know. It'll be fun when Hoyt actually does something.
he does here. He does
Really.
in this part of the book, he does some stuff. Um,
I mean, I guess he does some stuff.
he does
He
warn
basically says cryptic stuff to both Kaladin and Dalinar here.
yeah. Here he tells he does. I mean, he explicitly tells Dalinar here that Sadeas is planning to announce something at the feast, and then like he leaves. Um, then Dalinar walks before Sadeas even has a chance to like do his thing. Dalinar walks up to him and is like, "What are the results? Like, go ahead, implicate me if you must." And then he does. He's like, "Are you sure? You sure you want me to do this? You asked for this." And then announces it. And to Dalinar's surprise, Sadeas has found that Dalinar declares that Dalinar was innocent in the attempted murder of the king. And then that prompts Dalinar to ask Sadeas to do a joint assault. And Sadeas agrees. And one of the things that Sadeas had said was that if you know if he didn't actually come out and exonerate Dalinar um, publicly, then people would have just stopped trying to find like the assassin because they believe that Dalinar was, and now it allows them to actually figure out who did it because they haven't automatically written it off that Dalinar did.
Yeah, because for all of Sadeas' faults, which are a lot, he does want the kingdom to survive in his
Yeah,
own way. And that's what prompts him to do the later betrayal and other stuff, which is I like. I like that he's evil and doesn't really care about lives that much. But he still has something he cares about. and he tries to do it his own way. Probably not the best way. Um, yeah, Sadie's an interesting character, but
I really do like. I made a note at the end. I really like Sadius as a character. Like he's a great character. He's a terrible human being. He's a great character, and he's a good opposite of Dalinar.
yeah, he's a great opposite of Dalinar, and I like how um, both of them changed through Galar's death. Um, Dalinar started doing the codes, started doing the Way of Kings type stuff. Probably went to go see the Night Witch uh, to do something, and then Sadius, he's kind of just pushed himself and pushes his army and uses enemies necessary to kind of get vengeance because of him failing his duty.
Yeah. Few things here. I thought it was funny or interesting that Sadius's wife, uh, they think she dyes her hair black, which implies if her hair is not black, then she's foreign. She has foreign blood in the family, so she's not like a pure Alethi. So she dyes her hair black to try to fit into the female high society. It just kind of reminds me. I don't know if you ever watched The Gilded Age on HBO. And so there's just like women, they're not dyeing their hair, but the wives of all these tycoons in the turn of the from 1800 to 1900 century, which is also known as the Gilded Age. Uh, there's a lot of like politicking going on and making sure like, okay, people notice if you're not invited to such and such's house for something. And so it's like a lot of nitpicking and petty stuff. So I think Iole or whatever her name is, she dyes her hair black to try to just fit in.
Yeah, she seems interesting. I hope we get more of her because it's kind of implied that she's like maybe like a spy master or something for Sadius, and if she's like his wife, she's probably also pretty devious. So it'd be kind of cool to get like her versus Navani or something in the future. Don't remember if that happens, but the book could use a few more female characters and a couple of antagonistic female characters. Cool.
Yeah. So there was a story that was told in here about a war between the Tukari and the Imuli. I don't remember the details here, but reading it so like there were two factions or denominations of religious orders or something that were occupying the same land, and like they had they had the same like belief of one god, like one main god that was the same, but underneath that the beliefs differed and they warred about it. And it just reminded me of like Israel versus Palestine.
Yeah, or Catholics v Protestants.
Or that, yeah. But just how much they were warring. I mean, obviously, my mind went to Israel, but Palestine, just because it's modern day current events. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's a little different because it's not super based on religion, but yeah, I think probably more accurate would be after the Reformation, all those battles, or maybe even Northern Ireland.
okay, no, yeah, I see that. I see that.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, it's always cool to learn about more nations that hopefully we'll visit. I could use one thing. If we can talk about now or later. Just what we hope the series does going forward. I hope it expands more. It's not in the main story, not just in the interludes. Like you get to visit more places just like the Shattered Plains.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you do. So um I don't remember exactly where all you go. But it does, the world does open up outside of Alethkar a little bit more.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, some stuff vaguely, but it'll be cool to see other places.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much. Like predicting it and where we hope it goes is odd on a reread. Um, this early on, just because it's like, okay, I don't remember everything, but some things I'm like, did this happen or not, or is this just me thinking this is where it's gonna go?
Your head can, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like I don't want to drop anything in here that is something that I'm not sure happens, but it actually does happen. And I'm remembering, I'm not remembering that I remember it happened, but I'm remembering that it happened.
Hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Try to chew on that.
Sounds like a conundrum.
So we'll move on to an Emerald Brome, and POV is Kaladin. And so he's on a bridge run. This is a 1 week after losing Dunny, and it's Dalinar and Sadeas are having a joint assault. It works super effectively. Um, so they arrive before the Parshendi. They're getting beat, but then Dalinar's army shows up, and so they they go back now. I mean, it was like a brief thing for the assault. And so back at the war camp, they're on chasm duty. And they're collecting more than needed to stash for the next session when they can train. Yeah, for the so they want to collect more so that the next time they go down, they have more to turn in and they can just train. And then I think he has Rock and
Look,
Lopin. Yeah, they're collecting, and I think they established that in the last section. That
because they don't fight, so
right, right. And so, speaking of Rock, Chris told me his next character is Rock. He created Rock for D&D. And
Of course he did.
yeah, he took the chef's feat, and he will not fight in combat.
Sounds like a Chris character.
And I told him, I said, everybody's going to kill him as soon as they can.
So I guess he'd be a bard.
I, yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know. I mean,
hopefully he'll do something in combat.
yeah, yeah, just like here, he's cooking up a soup. The smell of the horn eater soup fills your nostrils, inspiring you on your next attack. Oh, cool.
You should just wait for the Stormlight RPG where you could probably be a rock eater.
Yeah, a horn
Or
eater.
horn eater. Yeah.
A rock eater. Yeah, we're not talking about the never ending story.
It could be. We're doing RPGs. We can combine them.
Yeah, so while they're down there, they find an emerald brome and then a whole lot more smaller spheres that combined is probably about the same as one emerald brome. And everybody's like, oh, let's keep it. And he's like, no, we're going to turn the big one in so that they believe we're being honest. But we're going to keep the smaller ones because if we have smaller ones, nobody's going to question Abridgment for having the small ones. But we got to find a way to get it out because they do cavity searches just to make sure that nobody's taking any of the spheres. And this is where we learn that Rock is an excellent bowman. And
Which why not?
yeah, I mean, what is it? It's only what 20 to 50 feet up the bridge. It's not that far. I mean, but then again, this is a not a compound bow. It is a traditional long bow. So, um, yeah,
And you have to
that's actually
and the arrow is weighted with spheres. So
yeah,
quite
weighted
harder.
with the spheres, it does change it. But yeah, he does. They're worried about arrows just flying out of the chasm, and soldiers be like, "What? What's you see arrows? There's just, like arrows popping up out of the chasm. Like, what's going on over there?" What would you do if you're a soldier? You just saw these arrows pop.
Yeah, I mean, probably be fairly hard to see unless you're like there's like scouts like right over there.
It's just sitting
See
at
like
the edge
a
of the
an
chasm.
arrow.
But if you're
But
that close to the chasm, it's like 50 feet down. You could see.
yeah,
You should be able to see the people down there, right?
true. But also the bridges should be pretty wide, so you shouldn't have like it either would be hard to reach or you'd hit it and it would not stick because like bridges have to be what like 15 feet wide, something like that, for like
I would,
like dual horses to ride across.
and this is a permanent bridge too. It's
Yeah,
not, yeah. So it's
so
going to
it's
be a wider bridge, right?
yeah, so it has to be pretty big.
Yeah.
So I
But
guess they're probably trying to hit it at the edge so Lupin can actually reach down and grab it. So maybe they need a more, I don't know,
yeah, a few
accurate.
other things that we do find out in this chapter. Um, so Kaladin finds out that I think, uh, who is it? Oh, is it Sigil? Yeah, Sigil is telling a story. Um, and he mentions Sesamalek's Dar, which is like the name of a place that Kaladin saw in his dream of flying. And so like when Kaladin heard it, he's like, wait, this place was real? Uh he's very surprised. He's like, I thought I just like made that up. It's like so something's inserting itself into Kaladin's dream, much like Dalinar's visions. So what's going on with Roshar? You know, everybody's getting information that fed to them that they didn't have previously.
The Dark One is breaking free. Gotta have some prophecies now.
Yeah. Also, Shin, the Parshindi or the Parshman Bridgeman, is very bothered by. Hey, we know this now. We know the Parshindi and the. Actually, no, we've known the Parshindi and the Parshman were very similar because they always talk about them that they're cousins, they're silent cousins,
True.
or they're handicapped cousins. Um, but he is very bothered by the pilfering of the Parshindi corpses.
Yeah,
And
they have like a either a cultural or like supernatural, like physiological uh dread against you know messing with the dead.
kind of defiling the corpses, basically.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
kind of sacred.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which most cultures do, but this is a little more than normal.
Yeah, and that's where he gets all the so he takes the bow and the bowstring and arrows from the Parshindi corpses. Um and then along with all the spheres that they got in their plan to get them out, Kaladin is now kind of or I think somebody brought it up to Kaladin. Um Scar brings up the fact like, what if somebody turns us in for this? And Kaladin immediately shuts it down because like once you start that, then everybody's paranoid that it's that the team is together. And so he's like, yeah, I'm shutting this down. We all believe in each other, and we're one team. Nobody's gonna betray anybody. Then Syl later on at the end is like, "Aren't you worried?" He goes, "Yeah." It's like, "Well, why'd you tell him?" It's like, "Because we need to be together." But also, Syl, why don't you watch all the other bridgemen, make sure nobody goes off and tells tells any of the officers that we're stealing spheres.
Makes sense.
Oh, and I thought this was really funny. Scar asks Kaladin if he was with Amaram when Amaram won his shard, his shards. And Kaladin's response was like, "Yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I was the one that defeated the shard bearer." Uh,
should have been me, but nope. That was kind of dumb.
yeah. So yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah, that was a good chapter. Um, do. Yeah. So we can move on to
Yeah, is this
chapter 50.
the first chapter with the running joke of Lupin has a billion cousins in the army?
It might be.
I just remember he always just talks about his cousins, and it's really funny.
Yeah, he's like, "I have a cousin here.
Yeah.
That's such and such."
Hey, Goncho, I got a cousin.
Yeah.
Lupin's funny. But yeah, it's a good chapter. They got some money, figure some stuff out. But yeah, we can move on.
So chapter 56 is Dalinar's point of view, and they're on the Shattered Plains doing another joint plateau assault with Sadius. And so Dalinar notices, or rather, he noticed before, but we're the readers are finding out more about this in greater detail. That um, so the Pershindi do fight in pairs. Dalinar does notice that there are anatomical differences between the pairs, and kind of assumes that they could be mates, and that one is male, one is female. Um, and he notices that when he's murdering the Parshendi, he's murdering them, and he's like, "Oh, these look different."
It, it is kind of one thing about this that is a little ridiculous how little the Alethi know about the Parshendi after fighting them for 6 years. Uh, it's a little incredulous because in war, information is power, and like you think that they would know all these things about them and like know their language and know everything, just just to be able to kill them better. So it's just it's funny just to think about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's women on the battlefield. I've been killing them for 6 years. I just figured it out.
um,
Like 6 years is like longer than World War II, or just as long as World War II.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, and like just think of how much technological advances and stuff happened in that war. Like how much information and because like if they seem to be fighting each other like every week or so, like every for 6 years. Like I don't know. It's one of the things I think Sanderson could have done a little bit better is have them be more knowledgeable about their foe. I get that like it kind of plays it off because like the high princes don't really care, but they would probably have like people under them, taking captives, interrogating them for information. So they would have like people. They should have people like fluent in the language, expert. You should have like a my dark-eyed expert on the Parshendi who has tortured like 50 of them and learned their language and knows all about their physiology and stuff. And it's just kind of funny. I think it could have been a little bit more believable if you just kind of had them know a smidge more about the Parshendi, or have the war be not quite as long. Like if it was like 2 years, it would be a little bit more believable that they don't quite know everything about them.
Yeah, but if you did that, so I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if the war hadn't been going on for so long, it wouldn't you wouldn't feel like, I don't think I'd connect with Dalinar so much over needing to unite them and like ending this stupidity.
Hmm.
Because like the plateau assaults, it's pure stupidity. It's not advancing the end of the war. It's not trying to put aside your differences or even totally annihilate your opposition to just end it. It's just like, all right, how can we keep this going on and on and on, and you know, so it had to be a longer period of time for that. But since it was, I guess they could, with that time frame and the changes going on in the world, new information is coming about. And so it's like it's part of that discovery, and it would be odd if they knew all that information earlier and they're still doing the war as it is.
Mm.
But it might have played it more into, like, let's say, into the idea of, yeah, we just want to fight over these gym hearts. Like, the chasm fiends didn't really start showing up until 6 years ago, and they've got gym hearts. Before, we had to collect our gym hearts from somewhere else. We had to go out of our country to collect them. Now they're here, and so as they find out more about the Parshendi, they'll be like, well, we're collecting gym hearts, so let's just ignore it. So it could have fed into that. So I guess he could have had more of that information come across.
Yeah, or like a reason why. Like I don't know if there's like let's say they have uh, they grow cyanide inside their mouth and die, or something like if they have like a reason why like Persindi just don't get captured. Um, so we don't have any way to like learn from them or whatever. But like Shard, just Shard blade dude's legs, and then you have like a captive basically. And you're like, they would realistically they would know. Wait, like they have ideas of how many Pershini there are, so they have intelligence. It's just, but like they don't know. At least Dalinar's people don't know that like there's females. Like they would have like autopsies of them, like they would know everything about their physiology, like a real.
But they also haven't been far east. Like, the Tower Plateau is the farthest east that they've really been. And like, if you look at, I don't even know where the map of the
Yeah,
Shadow Plains is, but
but they have like estimates of like how many people they have left and stuff. I don't know. It's just weird. It's one thing that, if you think about it for a little bit, like a war machine like the Alethi would know literally everything about the person, because in war, knowledge is power. And they would probably have like better weapons to kill them. Like they would have like specialized like spears to like punch through their carapaces that work better. They would have like all sorts of technology, which they might. We haven't really gotten details of like their spears and stuff, but they would have specialized, weapons for the parchment and everything like that.
yeah, no, I can see that. Um, Yeah, so
It's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of
no, yeah, that's what makes this the more fun to discuss these side things as opposed to, well, Dalinar did this and then Sadeas did this and then okay, well, Kaladin does this,
also
talk about the things in the book.
I was thinking about the tactics, and they say that like they can only bring a certain amount of men to attack the the chrysalis head on because there's only a certain amount of space on each plateau. And I was thinking, why didn't they have other armies come and try to like cut off the retreat of the Parshendi, so they can like box them in and just like annihilate them, or force them to retreat before they get surrounded. But they don't.
That
Like,
would
they just kind of attack head on.
that would require the high princes to work together.
Well, no, Sadius is like I leave like majority of my men behind every time. Like they don't. They never take all their armies. Or like if now that they're working together, they could like send multiple armies and like just box them in. But
Yeah.
it'd be a cool thing if they tried to do it, but they don't do it.
Yeah, so
Instead, they don't even send scouts and almost get Sadius killed.
yeah, Dalinar during the battle, he sees Sadeas is in trouble. He allowed himself to get surrounded because a second Parshendi army showed up. Dalinar lets loose the thrill, the thrill, but he tells him like he thinks to himself, I'm the Black Thorn. The Black Thorn is needed here. And this is this version of Dalinar here was my inspiration for creating Slocum. The original version of Slocum before he dedicated himself to Pelennor or Pelor. Pelor. Uh, what the hell is Pelennor? Um, yeah, after Sister Addie died and he took up the mantle of Path of the Zealot and went to Pelor. Um, he always was Path of the Storm.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and he always called upon the Storm Father to lightning his enemies. So, but yeah, he goes in to try to save Sadeas, and then Adolin has to show up to save Dalinar. So
Yeah, he basically cuts a swath through like the entire army to get to Sadius. It's really badass. Shows just how powerful Dalinar is.
or any shard bearer for that matter.
True. But it seems like Dalinar and Adolin are like cream of the crop in terms of dueling and killing people with shard blades.
Yeah. Dalinar, I don't think he's as good at dueling. He's just good at murdering and slaughtering. So maybe he's not as tactical as Adolin is. Because with the dueling, you have to be a little more tactical, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think wasn't he sent to like by Gavilar to like challenge any shard bearers when like they were trying to unite Alethkar?
Dalinar?
Yeah, you're just like
Probably.
people.
I mean, Adolin had to learn from somebody. But yeah, I mean, Dalinar just himself, when he loses himself in the thrill, it's just chaos.
Yeah, I really want this to be an anime because this fight would be super cool. Just him like charging through, just like murking everybody.
Yeah, and that storming book somebody said that.
That's Sadius.
Yeah.
Because he's like, why did you save me? He's like, the way of kings, they'll never leave a comrade behind. He's like, that storming book. Maybe it's
Storming book that Communist Manifesto. Oh, comrades. So, any further thoughts on this chapter?
Not really. I guess Sadius kind of sucks in combat, even though he doesn't have a shard blade. Should have done more. Kind of got murked pretty easily.
Yeah, he's ballsy, huh? So we'll move on to chapter 57, Wandersail. I I love this chapter. Point of view of Kaladin. So Maps dies. So this is on the Shattered Plains. It's been a few weeks since they started saving other bridge crew wounded, and they've saved up to 15 now. They've recovered 4 pouches of spheres. Kaladin starts to wonder where Gaz is, and wonders if his dad could have saved Maps. And he thinks on how the Parshendi revere their dead. Bridge 4 has a secret salute now.
Yeah.
Then this is where we learn that Syl is not a Windspren. She says she's a Bindspren and that she binds things. So we'll go with that. Did we learn in this section? Did we learn any other
Yeah. We know
anything
what
contrary to that?
yeah. We know that she's an honor spread.
Okay.
It's,
I couldn't.
That's later.
Yeah.
Basically when they go back to save Dalinar, she's like, I have an honor spread.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. All right. So now they're down in the one thing to note here is the other bridge crews, instead of treating Bridge 4 with contempt, they do kind of acknowledge that they're kind of like the peak for bridge crews, and they have a respect for it. Thank you, Nix, for covering the webcam. They have a respect for them. Kaladin finally notices that he sucks the stormlight from spheres. So good on him. And Syl says he's a wind runner. Like he belongs to an order of the Knights Radiant known as the Wind Runners. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, maybe you can run on the wind.
Maybe so. But my favorite part is after all that, when he runs off alone into the chasm and Syl is with him. He finds Hoid because he like hears a flute, he hears a musical instrument, and goes and finds Hoid. And Hoid quips at first, so like, oh, don't come near me, you might steal all my spheres or all my stormlight. So Hoid is hinting that he has a lot of stormlight saved up for whatever reason. Either he's just rich or he wants to collect the investiture of the planet. We have yet to.
I just kind of got it to where he was letting Kaladin know that he knows about him being a windrunner.
That too, but
I don't know if Hoyt can even use Stormlight. I don't even know what he is.
yeah, don't know yet. But then Hoid ends up telling him the story of Darathil and the Wandersail of the Uvara people. And so, like, basically, guy is it Darathil? Darathil goes into this like whirlpool into another like place, and the sub I forgot the exact details and I didn't write it down, but anyway, basically it comes down to the person that they were following, that they said we have to do this because this person told us. They
Yeah, so basically the story is that they like go to this island. It's very like idyllic and stuff, but like if you do certain things, like people will just like murder you. So like you like drop a plate or something, you get murdered, and it's all very brutal. And like they're like, oh my god, why is this happening? Like the emperor told us to do it, and then the Darethil's like, all right, well, we need to put a stop to this. So he puts a stop to it, goes into the castle. Turns out that it's just like a mummified corpse. The emperor's been dead forever. He tells everybody, basically a giant riot happens because if they haven't been told to kill, like if the emperor's been dead forever, then it's not the emperor's fault. They've just been murdering their neighbors themselves. So it's kind of like the story.
Yeah, and so they take personal responsibility at that point.
Yeah, and they start like killing each other because it's like, oh, you killed my daughter instead of like the emperor. So basically the city burns. And that's kind of the story. Hoyt has like Hoyt has like a magic flute, and it's basically doing like smoke magic to like show the scenes. And Hoyt gives Calvin the flute. It's like, hey, learn this shit. And Calvin's like, maybe. I don't really have time to learn a flute, but maybe.
Tells him to tell Sigil that he's graduated now.
Yeah, so Sigil knows Hoyd. Maybe he's from another planet, maybe not. Who knows?
And then Kaladin is like, I'm gonna give the flute to Sigil, and Hoyd's like, no, you're not. It's like, please don't give it to him. Yeah. So, and then Kaladin uses that story to take his own responsibility and find out what he can do with his powers to save those. Because like he walked off because he's like, I can't save anybody. He still has these feelings that it's like, I'm unable to save anybody. And so through Hoyd's story, he's like, all right, well, I didn't take enough responsibility to it. So
yeah, he also blames Syl for like cursing him and stuff like that. So he's finally takes some personal responsibility for his actions, which is nice. Character growth after 800 pages.
right. What was the conversation he had with Teft when he returned?
I think he's like, Teft, you know stuff. Can you tell me stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Teft, you've been hinting around, even just ask me weird questions. You know things. How about we like do some experiments? And Teft's like, okay, fine, I'll tell you what I know. I'll finally just come out and say that you have magic.
Yeah. So we can move on.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good chapter. Good to see Hoyt doing stuff, being all cryptic. He's leaving to do. Also, Hoyt's leaving to do something. Maybe we'll find out next book. Maybe not. I guess it's just to see the fallen angel. Be like, what's up? At the end of the book.
We do see that at the end. the epilogue.
Yeah.
Crazy epilogue. So the journey. I probably missed some stuff in here, but there was just a lot of conversation about politics and like you got Adolin and his buddies catching up, and then you got Dalinar and his buddies catching up.
Yeah, the Adolin stuff at the beginning of the chapter is basically Adolin starting to come around on Dalinar's way of thinking about like discipline for soldiers and like how it's easy to see all of Dalinar's people because they're in uniform and just like, oh, my father's ways make sense. There's a reason why we have like uniforms and things. Yeah, this is kind of revolutionary idea. Yeah, which is funny. I like Adolin. Adolin's growing, getting a little character growth.
Yeah, his friend Toril is very fashion forward. Scarf on the neck with a matching one on the wrist. It's very odd fashion.
It is funny how, like, with the delineation between male and feminine stuff in this book, how a lot of the men are like fashion forward. Like Adolin wants to be Sadius. I think maybe in this section, like complains about somebody's fashion. You don't really have too much of like the women doing the fashion stuff in this book, which is kind of interesting with how gendered it is.
Yeah.
Because Adolin really just wants to be a fancy boy, but he can't. It's really funny.
He has to wear the uniforms.
Yep.
While his friends can wear whatever they want. Yeah, so Adolin's with his buddies talking about the codes. They weren't, so he says maybe the codes weren't just about protecting against the Pershini. Maybe they were about something more, about giving the men commanders they could respect and rely on. And so whenever they see those uniforms, it gives the people like, oh, there's something, there's a beacon right there to follow. And just kind of gives that inspiration and that hope of order and protection.
Yeah, because you get a lot of contrast to Sadius's stuff because apparently his forces are very disorganized, which is interesting because like his things it seems to be they're efficient but like disorganized, which is a contrast to Dalinar, who's efficient but also organized.
So they're both efficient.
I think Sadius is efficient just through like sheer brutality and like strength of numbers.
Well, he doesn't care about losing people though.
Yeah, Dalinar is more like tactics and quality over quantity. Seems like
I would say Sadius is effective, but not efficient.
that makes sense.
Because efficiency to me is doing something with success without losing much.
Yeah, it makes sense. You are correct.
But yeah. Then the Dalinar scene, they're sitting in an arena waiting for Adolin's duel. And Dalinar is like reciting from memory the Way of Kings to Sadius, and Sadius is like, "Oh yes, that's great. I never thought of that. I'm glad you're telling me these stories and everything." And that Dalinar is eating it up. Dalinar's like, "Oh my god, it's so good to have his friend back." And then, like, if Sadius wasn't such a backstabbing evil bastard, like this scene, if you don't know that if you don't know for a fact that Sadius is going to betray Dalinar, and you're not really thinking that he will, this scene's great as a way of, oh man, these like two buds just hanging out with their other bud's son and just like talking and catching up and not fighting anymore. And it was fun.
It is fun. I can't remember if we get too many flashbacks, but it'd be cool to see some flashbacks of when, like, Galar was alive and like down the three of them were like kind of the triumvirates, like messing people up, reuniting uniting Alethkar. I do like how like Adolin's duel is like in the background and he's just like wiping the floor with the guy. Like, he's like not even really a contest. Just goes to show how good of a fighter he is. Also, I want to ask you, how many times would it take you to listen to a thing to be able to memorize it?
Too many.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. It's like, man, he's listened to The Way of Kings a lot. Because like reading, you can memorize it pretty, not quick, but you could do it. But listening to it would be like, I don't know, a long time.
Yeah, I mean, think about listening to a song. How many times do you have to listen to a song to be able to sing it?
Decent amount, but then it's a book. Uh,
Maybe Nirvana, maybe his readers
or
sing in a sing-songy voice.
maybe his boon is he can memorize things he listens to.
Yeah. It's worth noting here that Adolin, his duel, he had challenged Thanodul's. So Thanodul is another like prince, and he challenged his star shard bearer because Thanodul was very vocal against Dalinar. And so Adolin wipes the floor with Rezi, who's Thanodul's shard bearer. And that's one of the things. So like, all right, Sadeas doesn't have shard. Most of the high princes don't, but like Thanodul, his Resi has the shard. So it's the shard plate and stuff doesn't even belong to Thanodul, right?
I think
Or did it?
it belongs to him, but he has like a champion because
Okay,
like he's
that
not good at fighting.
okay, yeah, I couldn't remember in that case because there are some where like the high prince doesn't have it, but somebody else does.
And like they said that the king can lend out his for like if there's like a challenge or something
A
like that.
nominal fee.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah. Which makes sense because the plate gets broken and you have to like pay to get it regrown. So
But also I think it mentioned in here that if you pay that money to have it, it's also kind of embarrassing that you have enough money to pay to use the king's shards, but you don't have your own.
yeah. But in his flashback, right, with the recreants, he sees like 300 shard blades and shard plate, and he says like, I think he says Alfcar has like what 20 or 30 plates.
I made a note here. Yeah.
I think he says like in the world there's like 100.
Yeah, Alethkar has about 20, and Yakaved has about that many. And in the vision, there were like 200 that were charging the keep, like in one army.
Yeah, we know oh my god, Kaladin's dude, Anoram,
Amaram.
he's not at the Shattered Plains yet for some reason. So I wonder how many.
And he's Sadeas's man.
Yeah. So I wonder how many. Yeah, so it's weird that Sadeas doesn't sit for him like immediately. He's like, oh, you have a shard, come here.
Right.
His army could really use a shard bearer.
Yeah. And how embarrassing would it be for, how embarrassing is it for Sadeas not to have it?
Yeah, I wonder if he can claim it since it's like an underling has it.
I mean, Amaram did that
Yeah.
to Kaladin.
Oh, he not like to own it, but he's like, oh, like you can like fight my duels for me, and like you're like my champion basically. Yeah, it's just I don't know how many. We don't really have a good idea of how many shard bearers are actually in the Shattered Plains right now.
It's less than 20.
Yeah, it's less than 20, and it's like because we don't. One thing for all the world building and all the pages of this book, and there's a lot. One thing we don't really know that much about is the other high princes, which I mean, I'm fine with, not in, 100 pages of like this dude and this dude. Like, we get names, but we don't really get like an idea of who they are, like alliances stuff. I guess we're gonna get that next book or something. But like, because like it seemed the book sets up that it's basically Dalinar and Sadeas are like the two like big dogs. And everybody else is kind of like just kind of like their own little tiny version of them. But then it's like this dude had like all the other princes have to have, you know, shard plates and shard blades and have to be pretty powerful. And there's 20 of them, then some of them have to have multiple like shard bearers in their things. So they have to be, you would think, even more powerful than like Sadeas. Because shards are like everything. Maybe they don't have the money of Sadeas, but it's just weird.
Or the influence and the connection that Setius has.
True, because of the
Gavilar.
because of Gavilar.
Gavilar.
But you think they would be like, oh, High Prince Brandon, he has like 3 shard bearers, and it's like, oh, he's like tearing it up, but his army kind of sucks, something like that. I don't know, it'd be cool. I hope we get more into the Alethi High Princes.
Yeah. All right, so chapter 59 on honor. And that refers to Kaladin. It's an honor to be so good at bridge runs. Yeah. So we learn that Teft's mother used to read him the Way of Kings. Kaladin learns to draw the stormlight in the dark chasm, and then Kaladin speaks the first ideal. So it unlocks his potential. So like we learn that, yeah, people that aren't Knights Radiance can use Stormlight, but whenever they speak an ideal and they become a Knights Radiant, it unlocks way more. And
Yeah.
the more ideals they speak, the more it unlocks.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's like force sensitive, but he's not a Jedi yet. So he's kind of doing the ideals to become a Knights Radiant. Or you level up in D&D as you speak the ideals.
Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, this chapter was kind of fun and exploration. Gaz has been missing for a week at this point. And like this chapter is one of the reasons why I really like Kaladin's chapters. So he's practicing inside the barracks room at first and is not getting anything out. Like he hasn't quite figured it out. It's not really working for him. Then Teft explains the first ideal and that each order has four more ideals. And so the first ideal for every order is the same. The other 4 are going to be different depending on what order, order of Knights Radiant you're in.
So that's what 30 ideals Sanderson has to write off. So that's a lot of stuff.
He did that to himself.
Yeah. I learned that as a DM. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do a lot. And it's like, wait a second, I have to come up with all these things. All right, there's gonna be 3 guys instead of 10 guys because it's way easier to make up. At least he has like books and books, but like he's gonna be all right. What the hell is the 4th idea of the Windrunners? All right, let me think. I wonder if he has them all.
Probably. I'm sure he probably does.
It'd be funny if he's like stuck on one of them. He's just like, I'll just erase that character. He's just not going to show up.
Yeah, so they have people kind of watching out to make sure that nobody can see Kaladin like sucking in Stormlight. Then Bright Lord Haschel arrives to tell Kaladin that they're going to have bridge duty every day and chasm duty every night. And because they are too good, and it's an honor to be that good. Uh, and then Kaladin got angry with this and infused Stormlight. And then when they're in the chasm, he's looking for a way out. He starts looking for a way out of the chasm with Silg. He's like, all right, we're gonna leave. We got to get everybody. I'm going to save these people by getting them out of the Shattered Plains and escaping. Um, and as he's thinking about protecting the Bridgemen, he's pulling in more Stormlight as well. So it's like almost like he's recognizing it's an emotional connection. So when he gets like an emotional reaction, he's drawing more Stormlight. And then he goes and cuts off the carapace from Pershindi corpse and ties it to armor that he pulls off of the Alethi corpses, and then starts to lash stones to the wall for footholds and handholds, so he can climb up to the bridge and tie the armor to the bridge so he can get it on the next bridge run. Because he has a plan and he hasn't told us yet. But obviously, it's going to be wearing Parshindi armor.
Yeah, it's basically drawing fire to himself so the rest of them can survive. Yeah, because they just want them dead. So like, you're gonna go, we're gonna work you ragged, just all the bridge runs all the time, which is rough.
Yeah, and they're supposed to sleep during the day before bridge runs happen. So they'll get lucky if there's no bridge run.
Yeah, and he basically Kaladin realizes like they are out of time because like they still need weeks of training, but they're gonna probably all be dead in weeks before they're ready. So he has to do this kind of drastic action.
Yep.
That's kind of that chapter.
That's that chapter. Chapter 60. Whoo, man. Some of these books that have over 100 chapters.
That's Stormlight.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I wonder if they have more like 2-page chapters because there's a couple in this book.
Yeah, probably. Not all of them are as long as some of the chapters in this book, obviously. But the books get to be like 100, 200 pages longer. So
do we have a page count for the new one?
I don't know. I mean, it is established, but I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, it's fine.
I could Google it if I wanted. So chapter 60, that which we cannot have. Point of view is Dalinar, and he slips into another vision. And this time he is Karm, who is Noadon's advisor. And Noadon is like the author of The Way of Kings. The time is after a desolation, and so Dalinar advises. This is a funny part. Dalinar advises Noadon to write a book. He's like, "Hey, you should write a book." Hint, hint. I read the book that you're going to write. You should definitely write it. Quote that stood out is, "At times it seems to me that to be human is to want that which we cannot have. For some, this is power. For me, it is peace." Which lends the title chapter. So during and then so he's talking to him the entire time. Then when he comes out of the vision, Navani was sitting there recording any words that he said while he was in the vision. And Navani recognizes his last words from a book named Analectics. And then Dalinar tells her what he remembers him saying in the vision. And in the vision, he was saying it in Alethi, so he could understand it. So now he has provided a translation from this other book into Alethi, and the other book was supposedly written in Dawn Chant. And so they're going to they're going to try and use this to create a translation or key for Dawn Chant, which nobody has been able to figure out.
Yeah, Dalinar is basically the Rosetta Stone of this world. Where he's
Hey,
able,
if it works, it works, you know?
I mean, it should, because Rosetta Stone was like a paragraph, so like you don't need that much to be able to kind of translate a language, which is insane. Linguistics is super cool. But yeah, this is cool. Oh, also, this is like we see Kolinar destroyed with like all these rock monsters and stuff. So I'm excited to see more rock monsters in this book because they seem fun bad guy to fight. And
Are they
also
susceptible to shard blades?
yeah, I think that's why they have sharp blades. Um, Navani has like a anesthetic fabrial, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's she wears it on her shoulder. And it's like this multi-legged spider-looking thing. And yeah, it doesn't heal you, but it takes the pain away.
So I'm excited for more cool fabrials in the future. Like I don't know, maybe there's some like laser cannons or something cool. I don't know, but I hope for something fun.
Maybe they'll invent this world's version of gunpowder.
Maybe have Navani the sharpshooter just blasting rock monsters.
Yeah, and I love it. It's like, to me it was such a small aside. Um, like on my first read through, just glancing over this Fabrial would have been just like, oh, okay, I don't care about that. But it gives you a lot more insight, like in Navani and who she is and what she does in the world. Because we've heard up until this point, like we've heard of soul casters and Fabrials that turn objects into food. There's new Fabrials that generate heat that Adolin and Dalinar find odd because there's no fire, but it's warm. They're like, this is strange. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of Fabrials are created and what they can do.
She hints that she has something big, so maybe there will be a nuclear bomb Fabrial in the future. But yeah, she hints at it, so I'm curious what new devices we're gonna have in the future.
We shall see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, that's that chapter.
Yeah, it's cool seeing the author of The Way of Kings and kind of before he had the luxury of being a philosopher, he had to kind of be a conqueror, kind of like Dalinar, kind of mirrors Dalinar a bit.
But he also refuses to write the book.
Well, yeah, he's like nine out of every 10 people are dead, which is pretty crazy. 90% casualty rates. So he's like, yeah, like there's not. Oh, he also says that in this time, men do the writing. So once again, you guys just show that like the culture has changed or flipped somehow in these thousands of years. which makes sense because it's been thousands of years.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and they mentioned that there's like several desolations. There's a cycle of these things that happen. So like maybe every desolation, 90% of the population is annihilated. And so like, I mean, with that, you're gonna have knowledge that's just completely gone. And so you're gonna have to rebuild the society and whatever else you come up with. Because like maybe fabrials might not have existed in other, prior to the last desolation. Oh, excuse me. Mm. Um, so might have been a new invention that didn't even exist, but maybe there were more powerful things.
yeah, because Dalinar tells Navani that he hasn't seen a Fabril, so they might not have existed back then. But they have like the shard plates and shard um, blades. So it seems like they come from the heralds, I guess, which comes from the Almighty. So I'm guessing the Almighty just kind of made all that for them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that chapter. It's fun. I like all the flashback chapters.
Yeah,
Visions.
his visions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Dalinar a lot.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite character in this book.
And so we'll move on and get more of Dalinar in Right for Wrong. And so what we learn in this chapter is that both Dalinar and Navani need to get laid. They do kiss in this chapter, and I, sorry, hold on. The major things. So the major question I had after reading this chapter is, what was Navani going to reveal about Gavilar? Because she was about to say something, and Dalinar cut him off and said, "No, I don't want to hear anything."
Uh,
So,
I just kind of took it that like Gavilar was a shitty husband. Maybe probably not like physically abusive, but maybe more like something like Robert Baratheon, kind of more maybe like a cheater and like just kind of didn't care that much about her. And it seemed to have kind of like a political marriage. That's what it seems like
I don't know.
from
Yeah,
my
it,
reading of the situation.
it felt like she was about to reveal something. Um, like he was more deeply involved in some plot.
Maybe he was a ghost blood. I don't know, but I kind of got that like their marriage kind of quickly soured and like it was just kind of political. So she's been kind of deeply unhappy. Maybe she always wanted Dalinar, and she just kind of chose poorly.
Oh, yeah, probably. I think she. I mean, later on we do find out that she did always like she wanted him and he wanted her, but whenever Dalinar introduced Gavilar to her, he felt like, oh, you're introducing me to somebody important. Okay, this is in my realm now. Like you're giving me another person.
Yeah,
So like he took it as
Dal-
like, I'm gonna marry her.
yeah, Dalinar did not call dibs.
No, he did not. Dumbass. So yeah, Navani wants to tell people uh, of Dalinar's visions and about the Dawn translations for obvious reasons. I mean, that's gonna it's gonna strengthen Dalinar's position and hopefully shift people's opinions on him, whether or not he's like insane or not. And um, she also asks him about his visit to the Night Watcher. Um, he doesn't reveal much there.
Yeah, he's basically like, I went there, but I know what the boon and curse is, and it's not this, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm like, but please talk about it, Dalinar. I want to know.
Please. Everybody wants to know. This is the second time you've skirted it.
It's like going to an ancient mystical hag or something that can give boons and curses is really cool, and I hope we get more of that in the future, which we probably will because it's a mystery about one of our main characters. So we'll have to wait for that.
No, he's never going to talk about it ever again.
Oh damn!
He's never going to give the details about it. He's just going to go, "Hey, you want to tell us about this?" Nah.
Nah. It sounds like good storytelling, so I believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's all I had on that chapter.
Yeah, I'm glad Navani and Dalinar are finally just like, all right, we're together now. Took long enough, but I'm glad it's done. We can start moving on to a new phase in their relationship, which will be fun.
Yeah. Excited to see that. So chapter 62, 3 glyphs. We got Kaladin on another plateau assault. Here, before Kaladin goes out, he ties a prayer to Yezereza, or the Stormfather, to his arm, and it's 3 glyphs that say wind, protection, and beloved. And then he puts on the armor that's covered with the Parshendi carapace and bones and dances around, attracting the ire of the Parshendi. They take the bait, and they're trying, like, all of them are focused on trying to shoot him. All 20 bridges get placed, which is amazing. Then, let's see. Sorry. I know. Okay. It's got to be during this, Sadeas decides to promote Mattel for such a genius plan. So
Yeah.
again, Light Eyes are getting either promoted or killed because of what Kaladin is doing here. Shin becomes a sad boy.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, Shin is very sad because of all the bones of the craziness.
And then while checking on the wounded, while Bridge Force checking on the wounded, the Parshendi bowmen take aim at the bridgemen, and Sadeas's soldiers are only interested in just like blocking their path to the bridges. So they don't care that their archers are aiming at the bridgemen. And then Dalinar sees that, and he runs over and he destroys the Parshendi to save the bridgemen, and then raises his blade towards Kaladin.
Yep. He saves Kaladin. That's what happens. I do like this chapter a lot. I mean, you're kind of like, what's this plan? And it's like, oh, that's because it's a simple plan that I should have thought of before I read it. But I like how he does it and how it's written, and like dancing around the wind and stopping on the arrows and almost dying. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and
That many arrows didn't hit him at all. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Syl was dancing around doing weird stuff too. He noticed. One thing Kaladin's was in his thoughts. He brought up a name we haven't heard of before, Tara. T-R Tarah. Tara, yeah.
Yeah.
And he mentioned a failure with her, but he said, but that was something different. So I'm interested in knowing that. We get all these cryptic, like, oh, we're here's a crumb of something. Think about that and we'll revisit it later.
Yeah, and we've seen so much of his life that it must have been like a month-long fling or something. Because like we have most of his time in the army up until the present, and then we have most of his life before the army. So like somewhere in that little sliver of time, Sanderson was like, "Ooh, I can put another little thing that we don't know about Kaladin."
Well, I think there was like, was it 4 years or something from when he joined the army to when uh Tien died?
No, Tien died like he said it was like 3 months or something.
So maybe
Tien
it
Tien
was,
dies like right away, but I think it's after Tien and the Amaranth thing. There's a couple of years.
yeah. So I think it's in between there.
Yeah,
So I want to see. I want to know what happens.
me too. I hope she's still alive, and then maybe there's some drama. Guessing she's a light eyes. Maybe I don't know.
Drama in this book? No.
Yeah, we need some more drama. Maybe Kaladin can get a romance. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's all I had for that chapter. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, pretty cool action. Um, sets up using the Prashindi armor to enrage them. So
Yeah, it's good stuff.
and we'll just continue on with Kaladin here into chapter 63, Fear. He asks Leighton, who's like the armor smith, to make armor for all of Bridge 4, except for Shin. Obvious reasons.
Yeah, he can grow his own.
Huh?
He can grow his own, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Just needs to learn how.
Yeah. And Kaladin does more bonding here with the Bridge 4 members. We get a second mention of Tara in this chapter, with no more information than we had previously. And Kaladin connects with Moash, is like, you know what, this guy reminds me a lot of me. And he assigns him as another decoy. And Moash kind of opens up to Kaladin and says that he trains to kill somebody. And he won't tell Kaladin who, but says that he had abandoned his quest, but Kaladin renewed it. So like he's like, I wanted to kill somebody, but I'd given up on it, but you've given me new hope. And Kaladin's like, who? He's like, I'm not going to tell you at this time. Rock talks about still running away, like, hey, we're gonna run away. And then Kaladin tries to talk to Sigzil about Hoyd, but Sigzil does not want to talk.
Yeah, I will say it's kind of funny. I mean, it makes sense for the book, but like how Bridge 4 is just full of like learned people.
Yeah.
And it's like you have Taft, who's a whatever guy that is, I forget the name of it. And you have Sigil, who's that you have Rock, and you have a random armor smith. It's just kind of funny. Like if this was Wheel Time, Kaladin is definitely ta'veren.
Oh yeah. Just drawing all these people to him.
Yeah, he's like, I need an armor smith. Oh wait, there's one. All right, cool.
But I mean, if you think about it, they're bridgemen. Most of them aren't I don't think all bridgemen are slaves,
No, well,
but they get put there for whatever reason.
it seems to be more like a old school like Russian penal battalion, where like you do something bad, you get sent to the bridgeman.
Yeah. So it could literally be any profession that shows up there.
It's just funny that like I mean, it makes sense because it's a book and stuff, but it's just funny. It's like, oh, I needed this guy, I needed this guy. Like he just has the Avengers are here in the Bridge Four, which is cool. It's just kind of funny.
The Avengers of Bridge 4.
Basically, they are. They basically assemble at the end too.
They will. And so will Dalinar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So, A Man of Extremes, chapter 64. We get this is the first time that we learn of Dalinar's curse, really. And so, like, Navani mentions his wife's name, but all he hears is like a sh 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 sound.
It's a very weird name for his wife.
Yeah. When I
Like
first read this book, I was like, what the hell is happening here?
it's even more jarring in the audiobook. It's just like you're like, wait, what? What happened? Did my audiobook break?
Like,
Good thing like it's like directly after that. It's like every time I hear my wife's name, it goes weird.
oh, hey, speaking of Dalinar, so going back to the chapter where they were watching Adolin's duel,
Mhm.
is that in that chapter? Did Dalinar decide not to abdicate in that chapter, or was it like before that chapter that he decided?
I can't remember. It's basically once he like learns that he's not going crazy. It's like I'm pretty good.
Okay, yeah, because I had made a note and I didn't bring it up. I just
Yeah,
remembered now. So
Adolin's basically like, you should not advocate. It's like, don't worry, I've decided not to because I'm not gonna be crazy. So, and I need to unite them,
yeah,
whoever them are.
he let whenever he does whenever he does tell Adolin he's not going to abdicate, he lets Adolin think that Adolin uh, convinced him not to. He's like, yeah, I didn't tell him that I had already decided not to do this. So, yeah, so Dalinar considers himself to be a man of extremes and has to dedicate himself to something in order to be useful, which makes sense. Like, I mean, like if you think about it, like most of the time when people retire and they stop doing any kind of work, like you'll see their health decline real fast and they just don't have anything like to live for. Like you don't have to do a job, but have something that you're focused on, you're learning or something like give yourself a purpose. And I think that's
Yeah,
what Dalinar is saying here.
and we saw in the prologue his extremes of just like getting drunk and carousing, and you see the opposite extreme of him being like super stoic and so yeah, he is definitely a man of extremes.
Yes. Good on him for sobering up a little.
Yeah, at least he's channeling into better pursuits now.
Yeah. Um, when Dalinar and Navani, they're talking about their missed opportunities in the past, how they kept missing each other, and they discuss how to handle the rumors of them. And I think Dalinar is just like, screw it, just we're it. Like they'll just have to deal with us. We're a force to be reckoned. And Navani said something like, yeah, they'll come around to our cause. And at which point Dalinar is like, wait, you're really like we're already in this together, like our cause. Like we're not um separate entities anymore. She's on board fully with what Dalinar wants to do.
Yes, it's nice seeing their relationship come together and learning more about their past. And kind of, Navani is a really cool character. I really like her. I'm interested for more of her, hopefully in next couple books.
I think she's like a MILF, kind of like Morghese.
Basically, because he always says how hot she is, and then her daughter is super hot. So yeah, it just runs in the blood.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you got Morghese and Elaine who are super hot.
Yeah. So she doesn't fold her arms under her tits because it's not real time.
No, she doesn't. They wear long flowing. She does cover her safe hand though.
Yeah, they all do.
Gotta cover that safe hand.
Don't want to be too scandalous.
Yeah, no. And so then the horns sound for the tower run. Like there's been a chrysalis spotted on the tower. So I think it's like 3 horns sound. And let's see. So Bridge 4 prepares for the plateau assault. All right. So yeah, we do a Dalinar POV. Then we go to Kaladin, and Bridge 4 is preparing for the plateau assault. They've now done 6 bridge runs with the armor. The other bridge crews are now viewing Bridge 4 as their champions. Like, yeah, you got it. You're doing great. Yeah, I'm proud to be a bridgeman.
Also, I'm not getting killed as much anymore. Yay.
Yay. I only died 5 times in the last 3 years. Now I don't die at all.
I bet Sadius is like, why didn't I think of using this tactic before? Ah, damn it. It would have cost me way less money buying new slaves.
Yeah, it's very true. So then we cut to Adolin's POV, and they're about to go out. Dalinar is going to send 8,000 of his troops, and Sadius is going to send 7,000. During this time, we also see that Sadius, we see how we like blatantly see Sadius lying here. And I think this is the first time like we actually see, or no, it's the first time with Dalinar that we see Sadius like lying and taking credit for stuff. So we like, especially since they started being buddies again. And so Sadius takes credit for the bridge tactics. And
I don't know if that's in his mind alive because he's like, they're my underlings. Whatever they do reflects good on me. But yeah, it is a little bit of a lie.
well, he takes that and then he lies and says, "Yo, yeah, I'm doing this because it saves the bridgemen." And so that's the lie right there. And he tells Dalinar, "You're rubbing off on me and making me care all those codes of yours. Maybe I'm coming around to your way of thinking." And I was like, no, like he already like in just juxtaposed to when the last that bridge run where Kaladin first did it and he promoted Mattel. He was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. Like maybe more of the bridgemen, they're gonna die more over my soldiers. Like I didn't lose any soldiers." So like it's not an honor thing that he's taking credit for here.
No, no.
But he tells Dalinar he is. It's like, "Oh, your honor stuff, your codes are rubbing off on me."
Yeah, I mean, he's doing it just so, Dalinar will use the bridges and not bring his own bridges, which will do his betrayal plan, which doesn't make too much sense, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Which we can move on to. All the prep is done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now they're moving out into the tower.
So the big climax of the books.
Yes, the next couple of chapters. crazy ride here. This is like,
Mm.
so chapter 65 is the start of what they call a Sanderlanche. It's like climax after climax after climax.
Yeah.
There's no apparently no refractory period here. Um, so we start off with a Dalinar point of view. Sorry. And they are Dalinar and Sadeas are preparing to assault the tower. Then while they're assaulting, when it goes to Kaladin's point of view, we see poor Scar takes an arrow to the foot. Teft takes an arrow to the shoulder during the battle. And these are just key points during the battle. So like they show up. Sorry. Trying to
Yeah. It's
choking on my
interspersed.
no, I was choking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. The POVs are interspersed between Dalinar and Kaladin.
okay, yeah, it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yep. It's kind of like Return of the Jedi.
And so we have Dalinar remains firm on waiting for Sadeas to secure the landing sites for his bridges before joining the plateau. He's like, I gotta wait, I gotta wait, I gotta wait. And then he's like, you know what? Sadeas is like, hey, take one of my bridge crews or someone by bridge crews and you can go. You don't have to wait for yours. And so then he decides to join in. He gets anxious. He sees the Parshendi changing the tactics, and that's when he uses Sadeas's bridges to cross and join.
Yeah. He doesn't have any bridge of his own because they're too slow. So he's just using Sadeas's bridges. And basically, from what I understand, Sadeas is like doing a bridgehead over here, and like then he's gonna like come and kind of like cut them off and then like squeeze them between. That's like the
Pincer maneuver.
pincer maneuver. That's the basic tactic of the thing. So he's gonna try to split the Parshendi army in half, and then use Sadeas to like destroy one half of the split. But and then we find out later that will basically, if Sadeas retreats, which he does, then he'll have split it, but then he'll be surrounded. That's what happens.
Yeah, so he comes in because another
Got kind of a thing in here if you check it out in the thing.
yeah, it's kind of confusing, but if you go back and look at that after you read the chapter, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, basically, Sadeas is supposed to hold the Parshendi, while Dalinar cuts them in half, and then they're supposed to turn and destroy the. Stop it, cat. The
You think she playing?
yeah. He's supposed to destroy the one half of the encircled Parshendi, basically.
And so the new Parshendi army shows up behind
Yeah, I think it's caught,
Dalinar.
basically.
What page is that on?
The map, you mean?
Yeah, the map.
It's at the start of the chapter. So it's probably a different page for you. But for me, it's 893. Cat, what are you doing? It doesn't have the new army because it's just their battle plan of what is supposed to happen.
It's funny. 893 is that chapter, but oh, so the map of it is before chapter 64 for me. Oh, where'd you go? He disappeared.
Cat needs more food.
Oh no.
The hungry little bastard.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, This is hard to read.
It's weird. A lot of tactics in like military tactics is like splitting and then circling an army. So therefore, like you can hit them from all sides and they're just kind of screwed. So that's what they're trying to do. That's what the plan is. But when Sadius pulls out, he splits the army, and then the both halves of the army encircle him, and then kind of push him back. But then he has to like break through, and that's kind of what happens again.
Yeah, and then a third Parshendi army comes in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
so
where
he's basically surrounded. He basically tries to envelop one half of the Persian army, and because Sadius leaves and the other one takes his place, basically, he's encircled. So he's kind of just screwed. That's why he's like, "We're dead."
yeah,
And then
fuck
and then-
Sadius. He
yeah,
yeah. Um but yeah, during this battle though, like Dalinar, he loses the thrill and like he gets sick. He sickens up a little bit, but then he gets it again. Um and I this chapter and the next few chapters kind of run into each other, so we can move forward into the codes. And so like, oh, I thought the chapter icon was odd because it's Dalinar's, but the first POV was Kaladin. Most of the time it's whoever's POV is the first or the largest. And so in codes, we see Kaladin sees Sadius's betrayal. Like he sees Sadius retreat. And of course, because Sadius is like, all right, Bridges, come on, we're leaving. We can't do anything here. Cal thinks this is worse than the betrayal that Amaram did to him.
yeah, because like 8,000 people are gonna die because of it.
Yeah. Instead of whatever. Um, Kaladin overheard Sadia say that honor of yours would get you killed, which was interesting. Um, Implications to honor. Um, then we have Adolin and Dalinar talking or fighting together. Adolin admits to his father that he was right to do everything that he did. Like, hey, you were right about the codes, you were right about this. Then Dalinar gives one hell of a speech for his army to, he's like, well, if we're gonna die here, we're gonna kill as many of these Parshendi as we can. And he regrets leaving his like his what would have been his final regret had he died was leaving Renarin with the state of the Kholin princedom. He's like, I left him with a fucked up situation.
Yeah, and he regrets Navani starting something with her only just to die. I will say one thing about Sadius's plan I'm a little wary of is he should have stuck around and just so he could retrieve the shards, Dalinar and Adolin shards, because giving the Parshendi 2 full shard bearers would be pretty disastrous for the Alethi, especially Sadius, because like imagine 3 shard bearers in every fight would be pretty rough.
True, but if he did that, then like what would he do? Like what was his excuse for
Yeah.
abandoning the plan at first and then coming in at the end?
I mean, everybody knows what he did, so it'd just be like, uh, he could just make whatever the hell he wants, because everybody already knows that he abandoned. It would just be his men. Men's word against his. So he could
Right,
even,
but like, so, but if he left, so like he left, his plan was I had to retreat because we were overrun.
yeah.
He That's the excuse for why Dalinar, like why he left is because they were overrun and there was no way there he had to just survive and get back. If he gone back to get the plates or the shards, his that excuse wouldn't have been because they're like, well, I thought you had to run because you were overrun. How did you go back and get the shards?
It could be maybe like he rallied his troops and was able trying to rescue Dalinar, right? It could be like a heroic return. I mean, you could just make some shit up, but then you wouldn't have given the Parshendi shards, and I think probably the shards would belong to House Cohen. I don't know how that kind of spoils would work. He might just be able to have them and be like, "What are you gonna do about it? I have two shard bearers now." I don't know. It just seems like a prize, and it also, stop Calvin from doing what it did. So I understand why it didn't happen, but I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't think it would have. I I think more people in the war camps would have realized that Sadeas betrayed Dalinar
But all the
at that point.
important people know that, right? Like the king, Navani, probably all the high princes know that.
That he betrayed him. Not if
Yeah.
his plan would have gone through.
No, that means like they have spies. They see like, oh, 7,000 people. Oh, 7,000 troops came back without looking at like they were fighting. No, look, all of Dalinar's people are dead. I'm pretty sure Sadeas betrayed them. Oh, that's what I would have done because I'm an
Yeah,
evil high prince.
but still, it would have been his word against whoever.
Sure.
So, but yeah. And speaking of words,
And you could have killed a bunch of Parshendi and maybe gotten the Parshendi shard bearer his
maybe,
shards.
maybe so.
Yeah. But anyway, just a thought I had.
Yeah, but we move it right into chapter 67.
Well, yeah, there's not too much.
Yeah, because the end there, Dalinar gives a speech,
Yeah, it's all good.
and then Adolin and Dalinar rush in to.
Yeah,
You don't wanna-
they're holding the line.
see. Words. That was an amazing speech. Fine
Yeah.
with.
The death speech.
Yeah.
You got it?
No, I don't have
All
it.
right, I can do it. Death is the end of all men, Dalinar bellowed. What is the measure of him once he is gone? The wealth he accumulated and left for his heirs to squabble over? The glory he attained only to be passed on to those who slew him? The lofty positions he held throughout happenstance? No, we fight because we understand. The end is the same. It is the path that separates men. When we taste that end, we will do so with our heads held high, eyes to the sun. He held out a hand, summoning Oathbringer. I am not ashamed of what I have become, he shouted, and found it to be true. It felt so strange to be free of guilt. Other men may debase themselves to destroy me. Let them have their glory, for I will retain mine. Pretty badass.
Yeah. Dalinar's such a badass.
Yeah, he's so cool.
And so then we move on. They charge in. And we move on to chapter 67, words. And we start off with Kaladin. And Kaladin just in this chapter, he really sees how loyal Bridgefort is to him, because they insist on going where he goes, even if that means back to Sadius. So they're basically free at this point. Like they're sitting there. Sadius has abandoned them. They're like, we could just fuck off and go, and they're gonna assume that we just died as well. Um, and then Kaladin remembers um the other bridge crew that were wounded, that are still stuck back. Um, and so like he's like, I gotta stay back. I gotta stay here and go get those out. You guys go ahead. And um Syl remembers, this is the chapter she remembers that she's an honor sprint and not a bind sprint or a wind sprint.
Yep, she turned into this like fully grown woman. She's like, look, and she's like looking at the desperate last stand of Dalinar, and she's all sad, and Kaladin's all sad, and they're like, all right, let's do something about it. It's great.
Yes, Syl and Rock both encourage Kaladin to help Dalinar, and Kaladin decides to be a better person than the Light Eyes are and go help Dalinar. Um, Dalinar sees Kaladin, and so like through this battle, Dalinar sees Kaladin coming, and like Dalinar's fighting through the Parshendi with the thrill, and until he sees Kaladin coming, at which point, like all the Parshendi start calling Kaladin Neshua Kadal.
Not quite yet, but yeah.
Oh, oh,
But basically, yeah.
Kaladin's using the side carry to block their arrows with this.
Yeah, so
Starlight on the shield.
basically, yeah, they're running, and then he kind of like looks over, and then sees that the archers are gonna like basically hit him on the side, and he does the side carry, and they all like switch, and it's really cool. All the arrows hit, and he he does like a giant like suction and sucks all the arrows into his shield, and like goes through his arm. He like uses all of his stormlight. And he's like all messed up from it. Almost passes out. And then they kind of they yeah they say Nishwa Kadel from that because like he like sucks all the thing in. So they obviously know about surge binders. They look all shook.
Yeah, he took 100 arrows on his little shield.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where he slips into a flashback of Tien, where we find that we see Tien's death. And the squad leader at that time needed to create more time, create a diversion. So like he sent all the ones that people that weren't great at fighting or anything up on the hill as bait, and that was of course Tien. And this reminds, did you ever watch the movie Legends of the Fall with Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins?
No.
And so like Anthony Hopkins has 3 sons, and the youngest one signs up to go to war. And it's like World War One, I think, the mustard gas.
Yeah.
And so the youngest one signs up to go to the war. So then his other brothers decide to sign up as well to protect him. And this is like a fucking old ass movie. So spoilers if you don't want to know. Skip ahead like 2 minutes. So anyway, at the war, the youngest one is running out, and he's the mustard gas he can't see, so he's like running out trying to find his brother. He hears his brother, and Brad Pitt's trying to run to save him, but he gets caught in barbed wire. And there's like a machine gun set up, like Germans with a machine gun. And so he just barely makes it out there. Now he wasn't placed out there, but just him sitting out there, just wide open, just reminded me of Tien.
Yeah, it's a brutal thing to do to kind of use people as bait, but it makes a certain pragmatic sense. But it's rough seeing I mean, it's rough seeing that Tien dying and like him like cuddling with the body, and it's pretty all messed up. It's effective.
Yeah. And so you good?
You can go ahead. I was just gonna
I just return back from. Did you want to say anything back from Tien?
no, we're good.
So he comes back and charges the Prashindi with a spear, and he leaps up and he says the second ideal, which is I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. As he draws, before he does that, he was drawing stormlight from the gemstones on the Parshindi beards. So she's like constantly fueling himself from them, which in the next chapter they kind of noticed that tactic and stopped sending gemstone laden beard people. Stop stormlight.
Yeah, it's really cool. I can see the live action anime like slow mo jump off the bridge, the half put on bridge, and him like floating through the air, sucking in all the stormlight, and then like landing and just start murdering everybody. I hope this gets either a good anime or a good live action adaptation. It'd be really cool. I think it works better as an anime.
I think you could do the story as is more with an anime as opposed to live action. But live action would be cool too. It'd just be fucking amazing.
It'd be so expensive.
Yes. But Sanderson could probably do a Kickstarter and get all the money for it anyway.
Maybe. Be funny.
But what would they what would the you'd have to have some type of gift on the Kickstarter.
You get like
Copy of the movie.
signed script or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an awesome chapter. Seeing him take on the second ideal, seeing him just pull in the stormlight from all the beards, gemstones, and slaughter so many Parshendi.
Yeah, it really shows because shows how well it's kind of in this whole section how like just ridiculously badass Kaladin is at fighting. I think we get more and more of his actual skills in the next couple of chapters, but yeah, it's really cool. And we get the second ideal. I wonder if we're gonna get an ideal per book. So he would be a radiant in book. What is that? 3? I don't remember what happened. What the other ideals are, but it's a neat little thing to like kind of mark progress in like your ascension to Radiance hood.
Yeah.
So be interesting to track the ideals of Kaladin and see if he lives up to them.
We can do it.
Yeah.
So we'll move to right into chapter 68, Eshonai, which it's funny.
It's the name of a character, but we don't get the character.
Right? It does not establish that is the name of a character, but it is the name of the character in the book, in this chapter.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
Slight spoiler for next book. It's the name of the Parshendi Shardbearer.
Yes. But yeah, is a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler.
Yeah. If you consider a name a spoiler, but you're given the name in the chapter.
Yeah,
So
the chapter title is the name, so we're not. So
it's just like why I'm running out of ideas for chapter names. So how about this character I barely introduced?
yeah. So Adolin is pushing through the Parshendi. They've lost another 1,000 of their remaining 4. So they had already lost 4,000. Now they lost another 1,000 to that 3,000.
They're getting their ass kicked.
Yeah. Teft is just sitting there, jaw on the floor at Kaladin's spear work, enhanced by Stormlight. And like I think he realized that okay, Kaladin knew how to do this before, and the Stormlight just made it super powered.
Yeah, he went Super Saiyan basically.
Yeah. Dalinar makes it.
He might actually have gone Super Saiyan because don't their like eyes and stuff turn blue?
Their hair turns
No,
blonde.
I know Super Saiyan. I'm just in because when they become
So we don't see that.
yeah, maybe not yet. Maybe when he has all the ideals.
So in this book, we know that the stormlight is leaking from the eyes. Like the more he takes in and uses, like it comes out of the eyes, kind of like a smoky blue green.
Yeah.
Also off the skin. So he glows a little bit, but his eyes haven't changed color yet.
So he hasn't quite
At
turned
least
Super Saiyan.
nobody has noticed.
He hasn't quite turned Super Saiyan yet.
Yeah. Dalinar arrives at the chasm. Well, almost. And then Eshonai, the Parshendi Shardbearer, appears. And Dalinar and Eshonai are fighting. Crazy battle. They are Kaladin, while that's happening, Kaladin notices the order to the Parshendi warriors. Notices an order to them and respects them, but kills them anyway. He's like, oh, these people kind of like follow some type of code. This is in the way they fight. Like they're good warriors, but you know what? I have a purpose here. They're my enemy. I'm going to kill them anyway. The Parshendi countered Kaladin's use of the Stormlight by sending soldiers that don't have gemstones in their beards. So like they adapt during the battle. We get 3 more people that most of them have been named before, but weren't major characters. They die. Malik, Earless Jax, and Narm.
Oh no.
Earless Jax was the most memorable name of them. Kaladin saves Adolin by cutting his way in, forces Adolin to fall back. So actually before that, he goes and he promotes a soldier to a commander of the rear guard. Like Kaladin is like, hey, who are you? Who's in charge? This person, but they're dead. Who's the next? Oh, they're dead. And next, they're dead. It's like, who's in charge? There is nobody. Okay, well, look, you're the commander now. And if anybody has a problem with it, just tell them I promoted you in the field. It's like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
But it worked. The guy was like, okay. Like sometimes in those situations, you just need somebody to take the helm.
Yes, because like once they had some command, they were able to use their discipline to start, rear guard retreating, which is good. Yeah, it's funny, Kaladin just being like, "All right, you're in charge. Do this shit. I need to go save Dalinar. I don't have time for this. I'm Magic Man. Listen to me."
Yeah, so then he goes saves Adolin first by cutting his way in. Aiden's like, I gotta go with you. He's like, no, you're gonna fall back and protect the bridge. Like, I need you to do that. Um, and so here's where Adolin and Kaladin trade off. So Adolin's like, here, you're gonna take my Cobalt Guard then. And Kaladin's like, all right, well, you're gonna take Moash and my Bridgemen. Okay. um, and we cut back to Dalinar, who's getting his butt beat by Eshonai. And then he hears Eshonai whisper in Alethi to him. Doesn't make out what it is, right? Or no,
No,
it is you. I have found you.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, it is you. I have found you.
Yeah, because Dalinar is super tired. Also, his shard plate is messed up, so he's not quite as agile as he normally is. So he's kind of losing, even though he does do a cool thing where like he retreats up the cliff and then like cuts off the cliff so it falls underneath Eshonai. She's on it and cuts off where she's at, so she falls off the cliff and kind of messes her up. So he's doing some cool tactics, and the fight's really fun. But he is losing because one, she is good, or he, whatever, she is good, um, and two,
Spoiler.
and whatever. It's like the first chapter of the next book about her. So
Yeah. So, yeah. So Kaladin shows up, stabs Eshonai a couple times, like real quick with his spear.
yeah, because there's like a like crack in the armor, so he like rams it in there, messes her up.
And she crumples to the ground, weighed down by the shard plate that is leaked most of its stormlight. And at this point, um, he goes off, rescues Dalinar, and they're riding out, and the shard bearers, so they look across, and Eshonai kind of salutes Dalinar and Kaladin, and they kind of salute back. And Dalinar then vows to protect Bridge 4 from Sadeas. So, one hell of a chapter. Like, amazing. Like, this is how climaxes of books should be. Like so much not there's so much going on. There's combat, there's character development and like inter character exchanges. Um, so you see,
We finally get some characters meeting, like Dalinar and Kaladin. Oh, important to note that Dalinar does see that Kaladin is glowing, so he has some inkling that Kaladin is not just a bridgeman, even though, well, obviously he's not just a bridgeman because he saved him, but he might have some sort of supernatural thing, and if he's looking to maybe well, we'll find out that later. But if he's looking to maybe find some Knights Radiant, he might have found one.
yeah. You
Yeah.
already mentioned that Dalinar was looking for Knights Radiant in a previous episode, though.
Okay. I don't know.
The Holy Grail.
Mm,
But
but yeah, this whole thing is cool. I like the like Syl and Kaladin being honor sprint and like bonding together, saving the honorable Dalinar, and like the whole fight is really cool. And
I like that the respect, like the respect between the generals of like the Proshendi and Alethi, it gives hope to a solution for the Shattered Plains like war.
yeah, even though it's really bad tactics on the Pershini part because they could harry the retreating Alethi for miles and just probably wipe them out if they really, which they should do, but they do not for some reason.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that because throughout this book our what we've been fed about the Parshini is that they're mindless barbarians. Like most of the Lethi think of them as mindless barbarians. We get some um Adix. We get some reveal that they're intelligent by like learning about Gavilar, first meeting them, and how quickly they learn the Alethi language and that kind of stuff. And then seeing their tactics change during the battle, you start to see there's more than just savagery to them.
Mhm.
And then the mutual respect between Dalinar and that shard bearer. And kind of, I remember the first time I read it, I was like, oh, I can't wait for uh, the Prashindi Shardbearer and Dalinar to meet and like something like that plot go forward.
Mm.
It kind of it sets that up, right?
It does, yeah.
You get that feeling there.
It also gives you an appetite, which I pretty sure the next book fulfills of like we finally need to start learning more about the Persian. Like I get that this book was setting up, basically the Alethi side for all of it, but we do need to start learning more about them. And I'm excited to learn more about the Persian because they seem cool.
Yeah. And we can go move on to the final chapter of part 4.
Yeah.
69. Nice.
Nice.
And this justice. So we go back and forth between Navani, Dalinar, Kaladin, and Dalinar point of views. So first we have Navani. She makes her way to Sadeas. Sadeas gives his condolences, like, I'm sorry, Dalinar didn't make it out and all this stuff. Just lying through his teeth. Sorry. Navani is like, you betrayed him, you did all this, look at all your men, there's doesn't look like they fought at all, you didn't lose a single, you only lost one bridge crew. She paints a thatch glyph that was 20 paces long onto a stone and then burns it as a prayer for Dalinar. And thatch is just the rune or is the glyph for justice. And then Dalinar is seen leading his wounded back to the camp, much to Sadeas's surprise. And Dalinar arrives with 2,653 men, which is less than a third of what he brought. And they look ragged, right? And including Bridge 4. So Kaladin and Bridge 4 insist on accompanying Dalinar when he confronts Sadeas. And Dalinar, so he first thing he does is he goes up and he hugs Navani publicly and kind of apologize. He apologizes for waiting for too long, I think, or kind of gives that sentiment. Like it's like the hug was like, I'm sorry I waited so long to start our relationship here, and almost ended it before it started because of my stupidity in trusting Sadeas. Sadeas then admits to abandoning Dalinar and says it was to protect Elhokar. Stupid fucking excuse there.
Yeah, he's basically like, you're going the way of Gavilar being kind of un-Alethi, or maybe what the Alethi used to be, and like so, in order to like keep strong, we sacrifice you, use your kind of death to like rally around, and I can be basically in charge of the kingdoms, and we can finish this war. It's kind of his thought process. It makes sense in a way if he didn't give his plan was to give a bunch of shards to the Parshindi, but and
Eh,
it's dastardly. He's an evil man.
And so then Dalinar offers to buy Bridge 4 from Sadius, and Sadius is like, you don't, they're not for sale. At which point, Dalinar summons Oathbringer, his shard blade, and jams it into the ground and says, not even for a shard blade. Which point, Sadius is like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'll take this. You can have Bridge 4. Boom. Um,
Yeah, he gets all the bridgemen,
he gets
and
all of them. And then Dalinar goes and beats the ever living shit out of the king, um, who's in his shard plate because he's just he wears it around now just for protection, um, from assassination. So he beats the shit out of until the breastplate is cracked and like useless, um, and reveals that he has discovered that Elokar was the one that attempted to kill himself. He cut his own girth and all this stuff to make it seem like somebody was killing him.
yeah, to make basically start an investigation. We also, at some point, I forget where it is, we get hints that Elokar is seeing the same uh, uh, Cthulhu-esque monsters that Shallan is seeing.
In this book,
Mm-hmm.
I
It's somewhere in here. I forget where it is. But yes,
I gotta go back and look at that.
it is in there.
I missed it. It's in this chapter.
And I don't know if it's in this chapter. It's in one of the chapters we read, though. Because he's like, there's like, they're always watching me. Those squiggly head people in the mirror or something like that.
Ah,
It is in here. I forgot to mark down where it is, but yeah. So that's kind of why he thinks.
that's gonna be
It's
hard
like-
to. That's gonna be
there's-
hard to look up without reading through the book again online without getting spoilers.
it might be when the chapter where they're watching Adolin duel, but yeah, it's somewhere in the book. I do know. But, yeah. Yeah, so Elokar is beaten up, and also Dalinar like, "Hey, I'm with your mom now. Get used to it."
Yeah. You see, your mom and I, we're together. And oh, by the way, you are going to declare me High Prince of War.
If I've tried to do politics, turns out I'm shit at it, so I'm just gonna be a warlord again.
Because I'm good at it. Oh, and yeah, you'll get over the fact that I beat you up.
Yeah, but his mom's pissed at him, which is funny.
Anything else for this part? Part was really good.
Yeah, I really like the part with Navani drawing the glyph. That's really well written. It's really moving for like pouring out her grief and sadness and like basically oath of vengeance against Sadius. And
How awesome, like how fearless she is.
Yeah.
To go stand up to somebody of Sadius's prestige.
Yeah, and
And the
I re-
fact that she wrote it in a glyph that everybody can read
mm,
and not words, right?
yeah. Um, yeah, I like that part. I really like, the whole scene with Dalinar confronting Sadeas and like, you know, giving up his shard blade to Sadeas, and he's going to give up his shard plate to Renarin because he does say that, fulfilling an oath to his son. So we'll get shard bearer Renarin, or shard. Yes, there's still shard bearer. Shard bearer Renarin. I guess learning is to fight, which is going to be cool. Um, but yeah, just it's kind of the whole culmination of the themes of the book of like honor and how not all light eyes are the same, kind of making Kaladin have somebody worthy of respect and loyalty to, and setting up the next part of the book, which is really good.
Yeah.
I really like this entire part 4 is just really good. It's kind of like if the entire book, is Sand on the Edge, but it really does hinge on this section. This section fell flat. Probably this entire series wouldn't exist because people would be like, I read 700 pages and the climax sucks. Like, it, people would probably stop reading.
Oh yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
this is one of the most important parts of probably the series, just like getting all the themes, getting all the just really cool action parts, really cool character moments, just all in one thing. And it's kind of why Sanderson is the GOAT. He just kind of does it. It's really, really good. It's kind of probably why I remember liking this book so much. Like, because, like, I remember really loving The Way of Kings, and I still do. It's a little too long. It's a little, all world building, all fluff, not quite as much resolution, but
Not knowing what's going on for
yeah,
80% of the book.
yeah. So, but I think this section is just, and the next section, which is small, but it helps set up. But I think it's this section that really kind of cements in your mind like why this is such a great book. And yeah, it still holds up after a couple rereads.
Yeah, and I talked to Chris, and Chris said like he's tried to read it a couple of times before, and he thinks he didn't even get out of part one both times. But since finishing it, and he was like, I made Rock as a character for D&D. I'm like, okay, you're all in on the Stormlight Archives now that you read the entire book. Like, he's like, it was so good. I was like, yeah, that's what I've been telling you for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, I mean, but
Join the cult. Join
it
the
is
cult.
it is tough because like if you're not into world building, which I am, so I enjoy all the like the crabs and all the rock buds and the crazy high storms and stuff like that. But, like if you're not really into that and like some of the Kaladin depression stuff can get a little old after like the fifth time. So like it's still good stuff, but like you kind of like if you're not into all the world building and character stuff, it's hard to push yourself to the next chapters. And if you're not into like Shallan and kind of like some fun oh my god, theology and like philosophy discussions and like cool little like noble ladies like learning stuff and maybe a little kind of a mini heist. Like if you're not into that, you're like, oh, these Shallan stuff, and you're like, so like, but once you get to the climax, this book really does pick up, and I really like it.
Yeah,
I like all of it,
I do too.
but this is kind of the culmination of it. I can't find that part, but it is in the book where Elhokar talks about seeing them. It's like it's like one sentence, but it is in there. I meant to bring it up when it happened, but I forgot where it is.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
So moving on to part 5, The Silence Above. Chapter 70, Sea of Glass. Point of view is Shallan. And so Shallan's sitting in the hospital and she sketches Yasna during the poisoning and has an epiphany. And so she gets up and goes visits Yasna. But she didn't take her little memory, her photograph of Yasna during the poisoning, but she did remember it pretty well. And like when she drew it, um, she noticed the bread was like melty. It looked weird. Um, and so she she discovered and realized at that point that Shallan or Yasna could soul cast without a Fabrial.
Yep,
And
the
she's
Soulcaster
done
was
it herself.
always the Soulcaster was always a fake.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And she realizes it could be done because she did it as well. Like Shallan herself did it. So we find out that Yasna soul cast the jar of jam, and which got rid of the antidote, which is why Capsule died, even though like he ate a bunch of the jam. But it was like disgusting. It didn't smell good because Yasna is not good at soul casting organics. She also soul cast the bread, which got rid of the poison. So Yasna was not poisoned at all and did not need to eat the jam. And as you said, the Fabrial Soulcaster was a fake the entire time. Yasna has several of them because people try to take them all the time. Then let's see. They go to Shallan's like, I'll prove it to you. We'll go to Shadesmar. And of course, the voice is like, you have to tell me a truth. And she says something, and he's like, nah, that's not good enough. And she says, I killed my dad. And he's like, ah, yes, that's a good truth. That's a good secret. And so she goes into Shadesmar and nearly drowns.
It is very creepy though. I really say she's like, "Can you hear me?" Like, yes, always. It's like, ooh. I like her crazy creatures. They're really Cthulhu-y. They're very much different from Syl.
Yeah, they are. I can't wait to learn more about them.
Mm-hmm.
Should be next book.
Yeah,
since that's Shallan's book. So she's nearly drowns in the beads in Shadesmar, and Yasna has to go in and save her. Then Shallan asks if she can join Yasna permanently because she's like, "Oh my God, you've known about all of this stuff for so long. Uh, I'm curious, like what's happening to me. You could do it too. There's got to be more." Yasna, is it? No, I think it's the late. Yeah, it's the later one. So yeah, um, Shallan joins Yasna permanently.
Yeah, she does a pretty decent job of an argument as basically like, hey, you won't be alone. Like I have the same powers. I yes, I did steal from you, but we can get past that. Like you won't have to lie to everybody. You'll have somebody to kind of bounce your ideas off of.
What I just thought of, you know how Shallan was thinking of like the moral implications of uh Yasna going out and baiting the people and then killing them. So maybe the argument is like, okay, I did steal from you, but the soulcasters were always fake, so it didn't matter. Like it wasn't of value to you. So like, did I really steal something from you?
True.
But the intention, I think at that point it falls on the intention. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm interested in learning more about her father and how she killed him and how she got a shard blade, all that fun stuff. That's gonna be fun for I think next book probably. We'll get more into that. I like Shallan, so I read more of her.
yes, yes. Recorded in Blood. Remove back to a non-interlude chapter of Seth Samson Valano.
Ruthless of Shinovar.
Yes. So here he's sent to kill Taravangian, which is the last name on his list from his new masters. Um, he was instructed to not go murder hobo on this one, and to make sure that Taravangian acknowledged him before he killed him. And so he goes in and finds out that Taravangian is actually his hidden master and that he has his oath stone. And then brings him down to Taravangian. He brings him down to Taravangian. No, he brings him down to the hidden hospital where Taravangian has been recording death rattles for 7 years. When Gavilar started, and that started when Gavilar started investigating the Parshendi. And it ends with Taravangian telling Seth to go kill Dalinar.
Turns out Taravangian has seen the movie Martyrs and decided to do it.
Yeah. So I really love this chapter. So like Seth, there's so many characters that are great in the Stormlight Archives and in this book particularly. Seth is great because it's like, okay, wow, he's an assassin, he does all this, but his POV chapters, he's such a haunted person. Like
Mm.
he doesn't want to do this. He's being forced to do this. He's good at doing it. And he's like, he blames the people. Like he even talks about it, he's like, yeah, I blame the people for uh being there when I go to kill them. It's their fault that they're dying. But I just love Seth.
Yeah, I I I don't remember what becomes of him. I just hope he becomes a more interesting character. Because right now, he's like cool, but like his whining, because I don't know what a truthless is a little annoying. Like I just wish there was one thing of like, I wish I could do it, but the oath stone is compelling me, or something like that. Because it has to be magic that he can't do anything, or else he's kind of like his whining is just really dumb. Like if he's like being magically controlled, then he's like a really tragic character, which I assume he is because that sounds.
Do you think the Oath Stone is like a Kusavra from Wheel of Time?
It has to be something like that, or like it's like a fabrial that binds you to be able to like have to do something. Like it has to be something like that. It can't just be like a cultural thing. Like I'm a truthless, therefore I just do whatever happens. Also, it's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird that the Shin would just. I hope we get more on the Shin because like it's weird that the Shin would just be like, all right, we got this guy. We're just gonna give him away with a shard blade. Fuck the rest of the world, I guess. Just go have him. Goodbye. Like we're not just gonna keep him locked up or whatever. Like so, it's all very interesting. I think he's a really cool character, an interesting character. We just need to learn more about him because he right now he's like, oh my god, I should kill this guy, but I can't because but honor prevailed. Like if it's just honor, he's kind of a very weird character.
Yeah, I think it's magical.
It has to be magical. I don't remember at all. I kind of remember what I mean. It's gonna be a cool fight probably in the next book between him and like Kaladin and Dalinar. So I'm looking forward to all that, and I hope we get some more information for about him. Maybe a flashback. Like if we got flashbacks of Seth, that'd be cool. But yeah, I think this book gives me enough to be like interested in him. I just hope the answers are cool. I don't remember, but I assume they are because I have faith in Sanderson.
There is I was trying to look it up. I think Taravangian called I think he called Seth a life brother or mentioned something of a life brother.
He like speaks his language, right?
Or that, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Life brother was capitalized, and I don't know why. So, if there's more that comes of that, I would be very
Yeah,
interested.
he spoke the Shin language and knew his people's proverbs. Easier to release, difficult to keep is a Shin proverb.
Yeah.
So Taravangian he's a cool character. Like I love this chapter because it recontextualizes all the interactions previous with Taravangian. And like I said, there's some foreshadowing for Taravangian in the Yasna and Shallan chapters. Like she's when she first draws a portrait of him, he's like says like something about forgiveness. And he's like, no, I don't think I'll be forgiven. Like he looks sad. So it's a little like foreshadowing that he's been murdering a bunch of people to try to get. He's been doing a murder to get words from the Almighty or wherever some shard about the current situation. And I like that also he seems to be in cahoot like him and Dallin are on the same side, but they're doing it in totally different means. Like he seems to be on humanity's side against probably Odium if he even knows about that. But like they're going about it in two different ways. And he's like, Dalinar, you're trying to screw up my plan, so I have to kill you, but you're still a cool dude. So I assume I don't know. I assume he's the leader of the Ghost Bloods, but maybe not. We'll have to see. That's my thought right
Okay.
now.
Uh,
Let's see.
I did find that line with the life brother.
Hmm.
So it was after he said something to Seth in his language. But it says, yes, I speak your language. Sometimes I wonder if the life brother himself sent you to me. So I don't know if that's like the Shin name for like Stormfather or something like that. But yeah.
Another shard. Yeah.
Yeah, but we shall see. But yeah, that's pretty much that chapter. He sends him off to kill Dalinar.
Oh, and I've been mentioning martyrs. Listeners, if you don't have a really good tolerance for gore and messed upness, don't watch that movie. It's very good, but it's very messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, if you
But the entire plot of that movie is what Taravangian is doing. Basically, they're torturing people and recording their words as they're dying to see if they get like answers from God. So yeah, it's very messed up, but it's a good movie. And don't watch the American remake because it's just bad.
Yes. All right, chapter 72, Aristotelian. Back to Shallan's point of view. This is where Shallan finds out that Yasna has known about Shadesmar for a long time. So Yasna brings Shallan basically into her close to her more than a ward now. And they discuss her studies. It's a short chapter, but like huge reveals, like so much stuff is revealed in a small amount of words. So we get we learn that abilities are tied to a type of Spren. There are 2 orders of Knights Radiant that can soul cast, and Yasna and Shallan are of different orders, but they can both soul cast. In Yasna's studies, she found out that humans enslaved the Voidbringers. And so, like, the Parshmen are Voidbringers or Parshindi, and they're enslaved. And so now they're worried, like, oh, if something were to happen, then all of the Parshmen everywhere would just turn on humanity, and there would be nothing we can do.
Yeah, be like sleeper agents basically. And we do know that if they, well, she suspects that they're Voidbringers, but we also know that there's like rock monsters and stuff from the past, so there's probably other types of Voidbringers, or maybe the Parshmen can grow into giant rock monsters. So it'd be fun to see if that's true, and what happens. Also, so we know that we can assume from this that the squiggly-headed monsters are a type of Spren, and we can assume that Yasna has a Spren that we have not seen because she has powers. So we now have 3 orders of Knights Radiant.
Yes,
or like little baby orders of Knights Radiant.
Yeah, we have
didn't
3
get
of them for
We
sure.
didn't get the names yet, though.
The only one we got
It's the Windrunner.
Windrunner.
Yeah.
But Yasna was very she was very surprised. So when Shallan mentioned that she sees the squiggly headed things, she's like, "You see these?" She's like, "Yeah, don't you?" She's like, "No, but you can soul cast. That's interesting." And so like you could just see the Yasna piecing together, like, "Oh, well, I thought you were whatever order I am because you can soul cast, but wait, no, you're not. You're this other one."
Yeah. I wonder. I guess we'll find out. But I wonder if Yasna knows any of the other ideals for her order, because seems to be, fairly old in her use of power. She can fucking summon lightning, turn people into crystals. So I would say she has at least one of the orders.
Probably. And that's why she always keeps spheres around.
Yeah. So I wonder what her words are. I guess we'll find out next book.
It didn't the book, when she killed the 3 guys, didn't the gems on her soulcaster, the light go out?
Yeah, she had to use it to.
Yeah.
Because I guess you still need a power source, even though you don't need the actual whatever the hell a soulcaster is, which would be cool to get more into that. Hopefully, like Navani will.
I think it describes that it's a type of Fabrial.
Yeah, but it does crazy shit. I guess it's probably tied to. My guess is the Radiance, of these orders kind of made the first soulcasters for the non-order people. That's my idea. I don't know if it's true. But yeah, this
using science instead of magic to accomplish similar things.
Yes.
Nyx is underneath your blanket.
He will do that. But yeah, this is a good setup for the next book.
Yeah.
And it kind of like these couple of chapters are kind of like show why the Shallan stuff was in this novel. Because like before you kind of get a setup for the next book, you could probably just have her like these, because she's not in it that much. You could probably have it in the next book. Might slow it down a little bit, but you could. So it's good to have kind of like, ooh, like we got some tangible things to kind of push us forward to the next book.
Yeah. I
And
like
I'm glad she's not going back to her brothers and doing a whole Jacquevet arc. That seems boring.
Yeah, maybe so. But, all right. Chapter 73, Trust. Point of view is Kaladin. Um, so something that stood out interesting. But plot line first, Kaladin is asking Syl moral questions on his actions in saving Dalinar and killing the Pershindi. During that, excuse me, Dalinar shows up, asks Cal to lead his honor guard and train the men, and Kaladin gives him his requirements, um, which he will be the captain of Dalinar's honor guard and only report to Dalinar, his sons, and the king. And he's like, well, that's strange. Like no other officers. He's like, well, yeah, if I'm supposed to be protecting you and the king, wouldn't and y'all think a somebody's out to kill the king, wouldn't it be counter for me to just be ordered around by any light eyes that come around? He's like, oh, hey, that's a fair point. Um, they must be paid well. I think it said how much they were supposed to be paid, right? But I guess that doesn't matter too much. They're going to be paid a lot of money, and let's see.
Yeah, it's important to note also Downer has freed all the Bridgemen. They can leave if they want, but a lot of them stay. And they're no longer slaves.
Yeah. And so Kaladin returns to Bridge 4 after talking to Dalinar, and they're all eating rock stew and having a good time. And they question Kaladin on what his powers can do, and they volunteer to help test and discover more. And Kaladin feels proud that he saved so many lives, but especially the lives of 27 men of Bridge 4, those he calls friends. And yeah, I'm happy for Kaladin for now.
Yeah, he's finally not quite as sad as he used to be. He'll probably still be sad boy next book, but we'll see. But he finally has a place. He's in the army like he always wanted to be in the first chapter. He wanted to be in a real army. He's in Dalinar's army, and he's gonna train all the Bridgemen because Dalinar's army got messed up.
One thing I want to point out in this chapter, Syl makes
like
a
a
comment.
thousand. Sorry, he has like 1,000 Bridgemen he's gonna train or something. That's a lot.
Yeah, because the Oathbringer bought all of Sadeas's bridgemen. So Sadeas has no more bridgemen because he can't do it. I guess he can't do any more bridge runs.
Until he gets a bunch more slaves and trains them. Probably won't take him that long.
But yeah, I want to point out Syl made a comment about shard blades that she doesn't like them. They feel wrong. And she's like, I'm glad that Dalinar gave up Oathbringer because it just felt wrong.
She hasn't turned herself into a shard blade yet. No, that might not be. That's my idea. They're either like spren blades or something with that because all the radiants have spren, so they're probably like dead spren, so it'd be all weird. That's my theory. I don't know if it's true. Like
I will tell you, it's not an odd theory.
From like basically from this point on, any like speculation I do will be with mostly no knowledge. Like I remember some of the big parts of like the books, like a fight or whatever, but like none of the context of them. So just to let y'all know, I like this book, I knew I couldn't really speculate because I knew this book a lot because I probably read it like 5 times. But like I don't think I've read any of their books more than once, and I've only read book 3. So book 4 will be completely new to me.
It's going to be fun, and like you, I books 3 and 4, I don't remember a lot of details. There's some big things, fights that I remember, but some other smaller stuff I don't. And Words of Radiance, probably all 3 of those books I remember the same amount. So
I remember really liking book 2, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah.
I remember liking book 3. I don't know why I never read 4. I guess I just
because you told me because you needed to go back and read all the others.
that is true. I do tend to do that, and it's a bad habit because it takes forever to read a giant series like this.
It is, but I mean, I bought you book 4.
Yeah.
I bought Chris books 2, 3, and the novellas. So
Oh, nice.
for his birthday.
And like I did read some of Edge Dancer. I think I finished it.
Edge Dancer was fun. I don't remember anything in there.
I just remember it has a lift in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will meet next book, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be. So
She's
yeah, we'll move on to chapter 74, Ghost Blood, Shallan POV. And so we find out that Yasna and Shallan are gonna be heading to the Shattered Plains so that they can be up close and studying the Parshendi. They talk about the Parshmen being Parshendi, being Voidbringers, after Shallan reads all of Yasna's notes. I think I touched on that last chapter they were in.
Yeah, they basically discussed it.
And then Shallan believes her father was a ghost blood. After she connects she's like, I think my dad might be ghost blood. He might not have been a great person. We don't know if the ghost bloods are good or evil yet, but we do know that
there's some sort of secret society.
Yeah, her family's steward,
and her father was one.
Had the symbol, and Kabzul had the symbol, and so she thinks her dad was in on it. And her brother knows that information as well, or so us as the readers know, because the brother was like, hey, I'll do what you planned my father to do. And they're like, oh, that's fun. That's cute. Do you think you can? So it seems like he might have been high up in the Ghost Bloods.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more. Hopefully, we got Kaladin flashbacks. Hopefully, we get some Shallan flashbacks because it seems like her past is pretty cool.
Yeah. Book two is Shallan. So we get the Shallan flashbacks in book 2. And I don't know if it's spoilers, but I do know the flashbacks in the other books as well. So Huh?
I know book 3 is Dalinar.
Yes.
I don't know what book 4 is. You can say.
Okay. Book 4 is Eshonai.
Okay.
So we get flashbacks of Eshonai in book 4. And book 5, unless it changed, it's Seth.
Oh, well, there you go. I really want that.
Yeah, I almost mentioned it earlier when you said that, but I was like, I don't know if that's going to be a spoiler, but yeah, I think it's Seth. I know at one point he mentioned it was going to be, but yeah. So that's that chapter. So we'll move on to
the last chapter. No, yeah,
last chapter before the epilogue is chapter 75 in the top room. This reminds me, in the top room just reminds me of like the Pentecostal thing, like the upper room or Jesus visiting the the disciples or the apostles in the upper room. Not that this chapter has anything to do with that. But yeah, so we get Dalinar in a vision of Kolinar like destroyed, and he's with Navani when he slips into um, the vision, and so he gets to see a vision of it destroyed. He realizes that the voice is of the Almighty, and that he can't see or hear him. It's like a recording, like I think we mentioned before. And the Almighty says, if you're hearing this, then Odium has killed me. So now we're getting that. In the vision, I want to say there was a point where he pointed up in the sky and there were two stars that blinked out of existence. And when he's talking about Odium, and I feel like those are shards, like Odium has killed somebody else as well. So
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's a good setup. I hope we get more of Odium, which we probably will.
this really, like, this chapter really establishes Odium as like the villain, like the big bad on Roshar.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, if what I feel is true with the two stars, and I don't know if you can find it easily, but if that's true and those two stars are shards, then maybe Odium is bigger than just Roshar. Do.
Uh, yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah. Um, uh, this isn't about just you either, the figure said, raising his hand into the air. A light winked out in the sky, one that Dalinar hadn't realized was there. Then another winked out as well. The sun seemed to be growing dimmer. It's about all of them, the figure said. I should have realized he'd come for me. Who are you? Dalinar asked. The figure still staring into the sky. I leave this because there must be something I hope to discover, a chance that someone will find what to do. Do you wish to fight him? So maybe he killed other shards and he's just going around the Cosmere collecting stuff. Maybe he's like Thanos getting the Infinity Stones.
Yeah. We'll find out. But I mean, Odium itself is the word is general or widespread hatred or disgust directed towards someone as a result of their actions. So
Looks fun.
a hell of a name for a villain.
Yeah. And Dalinar is tasked with reforming the Knights Radiant.
Yay!
Yay! Life before death, strength before weakness.
Yeah.
Journey before destination. Speak the ancient oaths and return to men shard they once bore. So
The shard they once bore. The shard they once bore.
Shards.
Yes. Shards. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Like shard plate and shard blade.
Yeah. Yeah, so then that moves us into the epilogue. Wit's point of view. So Wit is sitting atop the gates of Kholinar, was asking the guards what men value most. And they're like, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And then as they're discussing that, a shard bearer shows up claiming to be the herald of the Almighty and then collapses. So the herald's name is Talonel Elin. Probably butchered that, but and Wit seemed to know that he was going to be arriving at that time, which is very interesting. And Wit says he believes that the thing that men value the most is timing. I think is what he said. Which, what the hell is happening here?
I don't know. It's like a good end to the book. It's basically like shit's hitting the fan. The desolation has come. We got a herald, the last herald that in the prelude he died, so he's been in hell or whatever for thousands of years. Yeah,
Is this the one that they left behind?
that's what I assume.
Okay. Yeah.
I could look up the name of the guy, but yeah, because all the other ones left. Yeah. So yeah, Talon. Yeah, Talon. Yep.
It's the one that the other 9 forsook.
Yeah.
Sought. Forsook?
Forsook, I guess.
Yeah.
Forsaken. They're forsaken.
He was
No!
forsaken. Ah! Why does it all go back to the wheel of time?
Because yeah, I don't
This
know.
is it just turns out that this is just another turning of the wheel of time.
It could be.
Yeah, and then the end note talks about it's talks about the a type of poem or something, which actually is the parts names, the titles of the parts, and it's yeah, and so this one, above silence, the illuminating storms, dying storms illuminate the silence above. It's funny as it says, this one was uttered by an illiterate dying Herdasian in a language he barely spoke.
Yeah, so the book is done. We did it.
Wait, that's not the ghost blood symbol down at the bottom of that, right? That's just 3 diamonds. I think the ghost blood symbol was diamonds overlapping.
Honestly, I don't remember.
Oh,
They just go ghost blood symbol. I'm like, cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Book 2 now.
It's done.
It is done.
Yeah, I was last week's episode. I don't know if you listened to it, but I was talking to Mo, and I'll grab the book real quick. When I first got started reading, for leisure, it was in freshman year of college, and this is a hardback copy of the Lord of the Rings that I read. First time I read Lord of the Rings was this hardback copy, and I had a pair of Jinko jeans, and this could fit in the pocket of the Jinko jeans, and I carried this around with me. I think your audio is muted. Yeah, you're muted.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's funny is this is actually a lot heavier than this book, but they're the same size. I guess it's just the weight of the paper.
Mhm.
The words are bigger too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did it. We completed the Way of Kings, and we get to move on to Words of Radiance. yeah, next week, I don't know. I might see if Chris wants to come on and just talk about Way of Kings as a whole and what he thought. Or you and I can do something. We'll figure it out this week
Okay.
before we record. Listeners, watchers, yeah, go ahead, click like, subscribe, follow, leave us a rating or review. All of those things help get our podcast seen. That way, others of your friends that enjoy this stuff as well can listen to it, and y'all can discuss our podcast where we discuss books, and that's a fun thing to do. So visit our sponsor, Mudcat Whiskers, at mudcatwhiskers.com. Use code paperweights at checkout. Oh, I nearly forgot. So post book thoughts here I have is, where did Gaz go and what is he up to?
Don't know.
Is he just like disappeared?
Yeah. Guess that'll be important. Find out next book.
I hope we find out soon, or I
I mean-
will forget about him.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little weird if he becomes like an actual important character. So maybe he just ran away.
Maybe
He's also a radiant.
he's half light eye. He had heterochromatic eyes,
There you go. Yeah.
and so like the eye he's missing is a light eye, and the other one is a dark.
Could be.
So somebody wanted to hide his connection to light eyes, so they stabbed his light eye out.
I mean, he's fairly interesting, so if he becomes more important, sure, I'll read it. But I do not remember at all if he's in the rest of these novels.
I don't either.
But they do make a comment like, "Where did Gaz go?" And then like, no, nothing about it.
They commented twice on it.
Maybe Gaz was also Hoyd. And when Hoyd lived, Gaz also
Hmm.
left.
Mm.
Maybe. I don't know. Be kind of funny.
That would be funny. So. All right, Justin. Thank you for discussing the Way of Kings with me, and I look forward to our next episode and then the beginning of Words of Radiance.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah, Words of Radiance, we are equally dividing in 5 parts. So part 1 will be the first episode, part 2 second, part 3, and so on and so forth. So see y'all next week.